Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Mike Gravel coming to you from Chicago as usual. And as you know, we're going to do the afternoon of the Wisconsin v. Brooks case. Let's get her started, shall we? We're going to do the afternoon. As you can see, I've got John with me. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Somebody tell me in the chat or something if this thing starts. I'm watching, but well, you know what I should do is I should do this. There we go. Or maybe should we do this? No, that doesn't work. That's it. Those are all the settings I know. So have you been following this thing?
I've been following it a decent bit, not 100% in the last end of last week, but I definitely saw his Sav-Sit rant.
Oh, good Lord. It's weird. Like I really want no part of this case just because it's so sad for obvious reasons, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
But oh, God damn you, Mortimer. And it worked too. First thing I did was struck out. All right.
How is it that if you're muted, I can still hear you? Is that just a StreamYards thing?
That's them trolling me.
Oh, okay.
Because I mute myself all the time.
Gotcha. Fair enough. I've done that before.
So I got sucked into this because back into it. I did a little bit, but then I got sucked back into it because he goes into soft sit rant, and I've been whining about soft sits for 2 years. I felt obligated to weigh in. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, it is actually it's a sad case, but it's an interesting one.
It is.
Again, it goes back to the soft sit situation where you can talk about the competence of an attorney, and he actually seems, outside of his sub-citizen ideas, it seems like he's actually capable of doing research and making an argument every now and again.
Yeah. I mean, not very good, but yeah, I mean,
but they're at least recognizable.
Right. Yes. I get it, but I know what you mean, but I want to make this clear for everybody else. It's a very low standard you're applying.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, that is true.
Be seated.
Thank you, Mortimer.
Where are we at right now? Defense witnesses?
I missed the tail end. I don't know if the state's about ready to rest or not, or if they've got more witnesses.
We are back on the record in State versus Brooks appearances are as they were before.
I'll have to check it out.
I know this morning I mentioned I would mention to the jury about Exhibit 15, as I recall going back in my memory about how that exhibit was received. I believe I already told the jury it is received or was received subject to further testimony. So I don't know that I need to tell them again that it's received, and it would be my inclination to just simply let it be. We've noted it outside the presence of the jury, but that's how I intend to handle that. Okay. I believe all of our jurors, well, they're all back, of course, but they're ready to go. And so when we bring them out, the state should be prepared to call the next witness.
I'm behaving.
Very good. Then bring the jury out, please.
You called that name that you started with. I don't know if the audio's on.
Audio's on, and I called the case. I actually didn't specifically refer to you, but I did say State versus Brooks. But in any event, your objection is noted for the record, and we'll continue with testimony.
Will you be addressing subject matter jurisdiction?
Good Lord.
Oh, Lord.
It's time. It's already time.
Yeah, no.
Is that a judicial determination not to answer, Your Honor?
Yes, it is. In her discretion. Yes. Your hole.
So is that a tacit agreement?
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was getting it from the chat on the lighting, so I was trying to figure out how
approval for the record.
to do it.
Oh, good Lord. Now I got to see that. That's 2 messages. I didn't hear. Did he say? Did he say
Thank
tacit
you,
for
everyone. Please
tacit?
be seated. State have
Because that's funny.
the next witness, please.
The state calls Officer Rebecca Carpenter.
Good afternoon, officer. If you would please make your way to the witness stand on my right up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thank you. Please be seated. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Rebecca, Rebecca, Carpenter, Carpenter.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Officer, how are you employed?
On the day of the parade, I was working a shift for the Village of Big Bend Police Department, sir.
Is that who still employs you?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yes, I'm also a patrol officer for the town of East Troy.
Don't make me
And I'm the
laugh.
assistant chief for the Village of Eda.
How many years have you spent in law enforcement?
I was appointed to the Milwaukee Police Department in March of 1991.
And when did you come out here to the Waukesha County jurisdictions that you mentioned?
I retired from the Milwaukee Police Department as a sergeant in November of 2017, and the first department I got into policing again with was the town of East Troy in May of 2018.
You already made reference to the parade. Were you working on duty as a law enforcement officer on November 21st of 2021?
Yes, sir, I was.
Lady.
Overruled. And you may answer.
Yes, I was.
Were you aware that day that the Waukesha Christmas parade was taking place?
Actually, I was not.
Did you at some point become aware that there was a parade in downtown Waukesha?
Objection, lady.
Overruled. You may
Yes.
answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, I did.
How did you go about learning that information?
I heard over the radio channel that Big Ben monitors, which is not the same radio channel that the parade was on. I heard a broadcast that there had been shots fired.
What did you do in response to hearing that broadcast?
In response to that particular broadcast, I started paying closer attention.
And then what happened?
Yeah.
Squads on my channel, which is a Waukesha County channel, started to say that they were placing injured people in the backs of their squads and driving them to the hospital, which is a highly unusual circumstance.
What did you do when you learned that information?
I started driving toward downtown Waukesha.
Did you get there?
I did.
What happened then?
Initially, I went to the parade route and I talked to a few people around injured people and determined that I wasn't really able to be of help there because they were all back injuries and I can't, in a squad, I can't help with that.
So what did you do next?
I answered a call on the radio that said there was a man going door to door on Elizabeth Street asking to use people's phones to call an Uber.
Did you go to look for that man?
I did.
Where did you go?
I responded to Elizabeth Street and I parked my squad on Elizabeth and West.
Where did you go from there?
I got out and partnered up with two other
what I'm worried about.
officers. And we decided that we would walk the street and look for this person.
Were you wearing a body-worn camera at the time?
Yes, sir, I was.
Where was that device affixed to your person?
The control box was on my chest, and the particular model of body-worn camera that I was wearing had a lens that I was wearing affixed to my collar.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has held up her right hand in a circle and pointed it towards about her collarbone, her right collarbone.
The record will so reflect.
Was that device also equipped with a microphone?
Objection
Yes.
leading.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
And that microphone was synced up with the video?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether your device was activated as you were walking down Elizabeth Street that afternoon?
Objection.
It was.
Overruled, and her answer may stand.
May we please display for the witness only exhibit number 80?
Go ahead. It will come on the monitor in front of you.
Do you see a video on the screen in front of you?
Yes, I do.
We're going to play the first 5 or 10 seconds of that just to see if you recognize it, okay? All right, we played 6 seconds. Do you recognize that video?
I do.
What is it?
It is my body camera video of walking down Elizabeth Street.
From November 21st?
Objection
sir.
leading.
I will overrule it, and the answer may stand.
Does this video and the associated audio accurately reflect what happened that night as you saw it?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
I'd move exhibit 80 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. Exhibit 80 is received. Permission to publish is granted. For the record, please tell me the total length.
It is a 5-minute video.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We will start at the beginning. We're going to play it with audio, and we will pause at certain points, and I'll point out the timestamps when we pause. So we'll start from the beginning, please.
Robert 277. What's that? Hands up! Put your hands where I can see them. Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Do it now! Hey. Taking one of the hospitals. What did I do? Lay on your stomach.
We've paused at 53 seconds.
Wow.
A few moments earlier in the video, we saw what appeared to be
Yeah.
a handgun. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, sir.
Who was the person holding that handgun?
That was me.
And who were, well, let's see, let me strike that. I want to direct your attention to the top right corner of the screen here. There appears to be some type of timestamp. Do you see that?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I do. Yes.
Do you know if that is an accurate military timestamp?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
That does not accurately reflect the time it occurred. No.
So it was not 11 p.m. at the time this video was recorded.
Objection leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
It's an
Do you know approximately what time it was that this video was recorded?
I know that I initially began to respond to the scene at about 20 minutes to 5. And I would be guessing about how much time elapsed, but I would say it wasn't more than a half hour or 40 minutes to this point.
The person who was depicted in the video at this point, at 53 seconds, that's what, describe where in the video you first saw that person.
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I first saw him standing on the porch.
And what, if anything, did you see that person doing when you first saw him?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
He appeared to be rather agitated.
Why do you say that?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Not leading. You may answer.
Does he know what leading is?
Back and forth
No,
on the porch
he
and
doesn't get it.
gesturing.
Do you recall what
I
you
guess
were
I was
wearing?
thinking of asking that question.
I do.
What?
The exact same set of clothing that I'm wearing today.
Including long sleeves?
Yes.
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Did this person, depicted at 53 seconds, draw your attention in any way based on what he was wearing?
Yes.
Why?
It was chilly out, lower 40s, upper 30s, and he was in a t-shirt, jogging pants, and no shoes.
We can resume playing here at 53 seconds, please.
Thank you, Jim, all right. You got something with your name on it now? No. Okay, last, cooperate with us. Okay, okay.
We paused at 1 minute and 4 seconds. What did we see in that portion of the video?
That was a sandwich.
Where did that sandwich come from?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
His right pants pocket.
The subject on the ground is
Yes, sir.
That's where I keep my sandwiches.
104.
Rapid 277. What's it?
We paused at 1 minute and 14 seconds. Did you at some point ask the subject depicted in the video at 1:14 to identify himself by name?
Go ahead.
I did.
What was that person's response?
He identified himself as Darrell Brooks.
Do you see Mr. Brooks in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out for us by telling us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He is seated at the defense table wearing a dark-colored suit and striped tie and a mask over his face.
Just to be thorough, Your Honor, could we please have Mr. Brooks remove his mask momentarily?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Go ahead.
Now that Mr. Brooks has removed his mask, does that change anything about your testimony today?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Leading.
Oh, here we go.
You may go ahead and answer.
That's Darrell Brooks.
Could we please play from 1:14?
There's multiple units. David 216, what is your name? Brooks.
Paused at 1 minute and 23 seconds.
That's interesting because he's been denying that name the entire
Sitting
trial.
on the witness stand today, do you acknowledge that Mr. Brooks has a short haircut?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name. It's leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question, please.
How would you describe Mr. Brooks's haircut today?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
So
Sir,
he didn't self-sit at
I
the
understand
arrest.
your objection. Please do not interrupt with that further so that the questioning of the witnesses may continue. You may answer.
If you say that name, I'm objecting.
And the jury will disregard the objection if it's solely for the name purposes. Go ahead.
Mr. Brooks has his hair cut close today.
What about when he took his face mask down? Did you notice his facial hair?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
He does have facial hair.
Did you notice anything different about his facial hair today versus in the video?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Witness may answer.
That is also trimmed closer.
Does the hairstyle and the facial hairstyle here in court today give you any pause or concern over whether or not it's Mr. Brooks in the video?
Objection.
Go ahead and answer, please.
No, not at all.
I would have sustained this
Resume playing at 1:23.
Objection noted for the record.
I just used somebody's phone to call for a living, that's all. Oh, okay.
That's what I need, yeah. 1 the blackmail and red short t-shirt.
I'll tell you what. If everything turns out to be on the up and up, life will be good and you'll be on your way, all right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, no. Ask him. Ask him if he knows. He was on the porch here.
Yeah, I was using his phone. What's your location?
I was using his phone.
You're holding the WMH room, loading her down.
I called my
Any spots available for a transport?
give me a lift. That's all. I was just using his phone.
Darrell, this is Schwartz. I'm leaving WSC. Where do you need me?
What? Can I just sit up? Can I please just sit up? You have any weapons on you? No, sir. What's your name, guy?
9209.
I just told her my name.
What's your name?
Yes, sir. What's your first name? Darrell Brooks? Yes, sir.
Additional victims. We start on the next block.
Copy, no additional
This
victims.
matches the description of the guy that got called on who was going door to door over here.
Yeah, I was trying.
Where are your shoes, man?
I was trying to use somebody's phone.
Where are your shoes?
My flip flops is in his house.
Paused at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Did you hear the last thing said by the suspect on the ground at this point?
Objection
Yes.
leading.
Overruled.
That's cool.
What did he say?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
He said, my flip-flops is in his house.
Do you know if any flip-flops or any other shoes of any kind were ever retrieved from the residence that this was taking place in front of?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
I did go in the house and speak to the resident there and asked if he had left shoes or outer garments or anything like that. And he said that he had not.
Can we please resume at the 2:49 mark?
He was saying he just gave me a jacket.
Shoes identifying software, lighter skin, black male, dreadlocks, red shirt, blue jeans, no shoes.
Yeah, I did go to that house. I went to that house right there, right down the street right here.
Where you coming from, man?
I was coming from that parade down here.
Okay.
I know a friend down here.
I think that's a fabulous idea.
I can't.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Roll over on your butt.
Okay, not you.
Roll over on your butt. Roll up on your knees. Roll over on. Roll up on your knees.
Okay. 500 block of Elizabeth.
Stand up.
553 Elizabeth.
What are you doing?
Factory here.
Did I do something?
That is yet to be
Go to
determined,
the front
sir.
of my squad, man.
Okay.
Is there anything I need to sticky poke me?
No, not at all, sir.
Okay.
Not at all. I don't have any weapons,
Glad to hear it.
nothing like that.
How did you get up over here, man?
I was coming to see a friend.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where's your friend?
I don't know now.
Spin your back your hand for me.
This sounds like when you're making up anything you
Yeah.
possibly
What
can.
hurt?
When they slammed me, my knee, I already have an injury.
Spread your feet for me.
Okay, yes. That's my ID.
It certainly is.
Yes. I'm so cold.
I bet you are.
Paused at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Officer, can you tell us what you and any other officers were doing in that brief portion of the video?
Walking him to a squad car so he could be placed inside since he was not dressed for the weather.
What happened once you got to the squad car?
The officer whose squad he was going to be placed in went through his pockets to make sure he did not have anything that would be dangerous.
Okay. And do you know if anything was retrieved from his pockets?
Yes.
Objection.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
There were no weapons, were there?
No
Objection
weapons.
pleading.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
Technically leading.
What, if anything, do you recall being recovered from his pocket?
ID, some cards. I believe there was a credit card in there and a car key.
Can we please play from the 4:30 mark?
We still have some key that matches. That's the right.
Go ahead and take a seat for me, Darrell.
Do you want him to bring it out?
So what?
We're having some skipping issues, so let's pause it there and go back to 4:50, please.
I'm sorry, what time?
4:50.
Prosecution's doing a really nice job. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're at.
He's cleanly establishing the provenance of the car key that's going to link to the vehicle that caused the injuries.
Yeah. And all this mucking around with videos, tape, and in front of a jury, it's stressful.
Last few seconds.
Yeah.
We can get them to work, I'm sure, if Mr. Brooks would like to see them. Could we please show for the witness only, exhibit number 176? Do you recognize the photograph on the screen in front of you?
I do.
What does it depict?
It is still taken from my body cam footage. Those are my hands, and in my hands are the property that was taken from Mr. Brooks. You can see the officer's back at the open door of the squad, and Mr. Brooks' leg in the light there where he's sitting in the squad.
Your Honor, I would move exhibit 176 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Objection, relevancy.
Exhibit
Relevant.
176 has received permission to publish as granted. The objection is overruled.
While we're waiting for the screens to activate for the jurors, I'll ask you, Officer Carpenter, do you know what happened to the objects that are in your hands in that exhibit?
There you go.
Yes,
Those are the
I
chain of evidence.
gave them to the officer whose car Mr. Brooks was sitting in.
You don't know the identity of that officer?
I don't. There were a lot of officers from a lot of different jurisdictions.
Cut off the cross argument.
This morning, you saw the arrest from the
Thank you,
ring
Ron.
cam at the house. This was fascinating. I didn't know we would see this.
All right, thank you. Cross.
I haven't had a chance to see that, but that's fascinating too.
Yes. At one point, you stated the suspect was wearing jogging pants. That'd be fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Were the jogging pants or blue jeans?
They were soft pants. They were not blue jeans.
Can we show exhibit 80 again?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Thank you.
Can you fast forward it a little bit?
Is that his
I'm
idea?
not gonna be sure exactly where
Yes,
the
it is.
pause it at. You fast forward just a little bit.
Yes, Jamie.
Yep.
Can you pause? Can you zoom in a little bit?
No, this is not CSI. We don't have zoom and enhance.
Oh, they.
Could those be blue jeans?
And-
Sure. Could they be jogging pants?
We have
Sure.
a few more
Who cares?
segments. Would that miss the zoom up? Would it still be zoomed in, or would it go back out?
It'll stay zoomed on that portion of the screen.
Okay.
He identified himself and coughed up his ID.
He identified himself at the time. There's no dispute that this is the person that was being arrested.
Pause.
We're at 5 seconds.
55, yeah.
If
You
the
would
pants
describe
don't
those pants
fit,
as
you
jogging
must
pants
quit.
or soft pants, as you say?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's how digital photography works. Do you think you can avoid Brooks Brothers, David?
And you stated that when you parked your car, where you parked your squad on Elizabeth and West, you hooked up with 2 other officers.
He didn't even close the
Yes.
loop on that argument.
And those officers had long guns.
Yes.
Can you explain what a long gun is?
Shoulder weapon, rifle, or shotgun.
Do you recall if it was a rifle or a shotgun?
I did not examine either weapon closely.
Are you done with this exhibit?
Don't make me laugh during this.
Sorry, this is too serious for
Yeah,
those jokes.
for right now, yeah.
Attack the car keys or the identification. Like, what are you going for?
And you
here?
made reference to finding sandwich, credit cards, things of that nature in the pants, correct?
I found the sandwich while you were laying on the ground.
And you also stated that you found a credit card and things of that nature. In fact, would it be fair to say that that's what was in your hand on Exhibit 176?
Do you need the exhibit to answer? Do you recall?
There were, I don't, thank you. There were what appeared to be credit cards and ID and a car key.
And they were in your hand, correct?
They were.
So she was the one that apparently drove through the parade. Is that the argument we're going with?
So would it be fair to say you also found those and not just a sandwich?
I did not pull that stuff out of your pocket, sir. That was a different officer. I did hold it while he finished searching you, sir.
So I'm sorry, that threw me off.
Oh my God, you could literally hear the fax tone in his mind going.
So you obtained that the credit cards and all that from a different officer.
Yes.
Yeah. It's only fair to say it's what she's testified to 3 times.
That's okay.
Did you find
If I was a
anything else?
prosecutor, I'm not doing asked and answered. Let him make an
On
idiot.
your person, I was not the person searching you. Aside from the sandwich while you were on the ground.
Let
So
the
as far
witness
as your
be
search,
seeing
you
you in
just
front of
found
the
the
jury.
Correct.
Stop it. This is a serious moment.
And at the time, do you recall why the suspect was being detained?
The suspect.
Yes,
And what was the reason?
because you matched a description that was broadcast over the police radio of a suspect involved in the parade incident.
That was actually very generous of an answer.
In this report, did you write it yourself or did another officer?
I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall writing that the suspect was being detained for investigative purposes?
Yes,
What other reason do you detain someone?
Any reason why you wouldn't state what those purposes were in the report?
yes, because at the time we had contact with you, I
Using the second person. is
was
also-
not fully aware of the circumstances.
Or would it be fair to say that you just stated why the suspect was being detained?
Yes.
Did I just stated why this, I'm sorry, what was the question exactly, sir?
Would it be fair to say that you just stated when asked why was the suspect being detained at that moment? You
At that
answered,
moment,
yeah,
yes.
at that moment that you detained the suspect. You stated because they matched the description of someone involved in the parade.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
But then you stated that you just stated that at the time you weren't fully aware.
I knew that people had been hurt. I knew that shots had been fired. I did not know how many people were hurt. I did not know by what mechanism people would be hurt. I did not know the magnitude of the injuries. I just knew that something violent had happened.
So it'd be fair to say you weren't in the known of a lot of information at that point.
In the known?
It's true.
Grounds.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
He just doesn't know English on top of everything else.
God.
Would it be fair to say that you were being heard in Exhibit 80, stating that if everything was on the up and up, you would be on your way?
Yes, sir, that's correct. That was me.
So would it be fair to say that was an inaccurate statement if
Nope.
the suspect
It
fit
sure
the
wouldn't.
description
No.
It was not on the
of
up and
something
up.
that happened in the parade?
Not at all.
Michael, you
And
spelled
what
it
do you
wrong.
mean by not at all?
I mean, sometimes people look like someone who did something and turn out not to be that person. But that was not the case here.
So as far as you knew at the time,
Keep reinforcing the identification. Great argument.
it could have been mistaken identity.
It could have been, but it was not.
Well, at the time, it'd be fair to say at the
Great
time
answer.
you didn't know.
At the time, I did not know.
I love this cop.
Yeah, she's cool.
She's unflappable.
Nice people
Did
in
you
this
give
town.
the
That's what I've
suspect
learned.
Any of that information?
Clearly.
Objection.
Grounds.
I'm not sure what information he's talking about.
Sustained is to the form of the question. It's vague.
Did you give the suspect any information on why they were being detained?
I said, actually, it wasn't me that said that. It was another officer that said that, and I can't tell you who it was because I don't know. While you were being put in the car, you were informed you were being detained for investigative
Now,
purposes.
that's actually a hearsay violation.
Which is
But he's too stupid.
an answer that's appropriate for the circumstances.
So it would be fair to say that that's not really all that informative.
I did not have a lot of information to give you, sir.
Keep saying you. Who are you referring to?
You, Mr. Brooks,
Yeah.
Darrell Brooks, seated at the defense table.
You jackass. That's what I'm talking about. It's beautiful.
Oh, she wants to punch him in the face right now. You can see it in the eyes.
Any reason why you wouldn't tell a suspect why they're being detained?
You don't have to.
Essentially being that if you take someone into custody, they should know why they're being taken into custody. Wouldn't you agree?
You don't have to do any of that.
South Africa in the house.
I can't give you information that I don't have, and I wouldn't want to tell you the wrong thing. That wouldn't be fair.
So why would a suspect be detained without any information to your knowledge?
Objection.
Right.
You don't need to know what your charges are until you're arraigned.
Also calls for speculation.
Nigel, that's his
vague.
best objection. It really is.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
The cops have to have reasonable articulable suspicion to detain you. They have to have probable cause to arrest you. You don't need to know what any of that
fair to
is.
say that you can detain a suspect without them knowing why they're being detained?
Objection. This
Grounds.
calls for legal analysis, not factually relevant.
No.
Sustained as to the form
Good
of the
argument.
question.
Good objection.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. He has no idea what just happened. None.
No, he has no idea why that was his stand.
Yeah. Objection form. No. I mean, he didn't know what he was doing to start with. He doesn't know how to come back from it.
No, you just lost the plot because I think he probably had an entire line of questioning based on that.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say you initially responded to the 500 block of Elizabeth because of a report of, I guess you would call it a trespassing report?
I would more put it under the heading of suspicious behavior under the circumstances.
I like
So
her.
is that why you were initially
She's very
dispatched
clean.
to that area for suspicious behavior?
Yes.
Thank you, Kimberly. Boys do like a good sandwich.
I think that objection threw off his entire flow.
And do you recall when you got the report of shots fired?
I believe that was one of the first things I heard over the radio before I was even there.
Do you recall ever finding out where the shots fired came from?
Eventually I did.
Which makes the arrest all that more much more impressive.
Yeah.
Because she didn't hesitate. She's like, get down. And she knows it's dangerous at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Do you recall in your reading report writing that when you had arrived at Elizabeth
Oh,
and
can I
West
do a late curse? It's your stream.
and parked your squad and
Makes him
began
that
to
much
walk down
more
the
of
street,
a,
that you had your
keyword.
firearm in your hand?
Yes.
And was that because of the call of shots fired, or did you feel unsafe at the time?
That's because there were shots fired and I did not know by whom.
I'm just trying to figure
Did
out
you
what
get
he's
a
trying to
report of
accomplish.
anyone hit by the shots?
Yeah.
At that time, no.
Isn't it true you had a great
I did not
justification
know
for all
one
the
way or
actions
the
you
other
took?
if anyone had been
Yes.
hurt.
Okay.
It had been hit. I knew people were hurt.
Did you
That's defense attorney.
do you recall the area of where the shots fired? Was that the general area?
The general area, somewhere in the vicinity of the
Is it
parade.
the defendant or the prosecution?
Seriously.
Like, this line of questioning literally puts him at the scene, puts it a dangerous incident, justifies probable cause for arrest.
Is Elizabeth
That's
and
his own
West in the general area?
It's a few blocks away.
Is he going with a mistaken identity? Or I don't. Okay.
And you did state you didn't find any weapons on the suspect, right?
Correct.
You find any shell casings or?
No.
If there's a pause, I can answer that question. And I think Mike.
Do you have any reason to believe that the shots
Sixth
came
Amendment.
from the suspect?
And passive fraud inquiry.
I did not know
You're in.
who had done shooting.
If you could
I
pass
had heard a report of shots fired. I
I
did not know by whom, as I've said, sir.
Then yeah.
Any reason to
Do it.
believe that the shots came from the suspect is what I'm asking.
I did not know.
You get the counsel of your choice, and if your choice is you, well, let the chips fall where they
And
may.
you stated that upon seeing the suspect on the porch, that they were gesturing.
Gesturing.
Gesturing? Yes,
I
sir.
wish she corrected him. I love her.
And you also stated that in your written report that it was in the upper 30s that evening with the brisk wind. Would that be fair to say?
It was
Pretty
upper
cold.
30s, lower 40s, somewhere right in there. It was cold. I was cold.
Do you think that maybe the gesturing was because the suspect was cold?
What?
Grounds.
Calls for speculation.
Yes.
Good. She may answer if she's able.
I actually thought that was a good objection.
I didn't know.
You're trying to get into the mind of another person. Yes, Thomas, he is absolutely making his case worse. He is literally proving the prosecution's case right now in real time. All right, so welcome to Law Talk with John. Anybody on chat who wants to ask a question?
And do you recall checking the general area around the house that you found a suspect?
Yes, sir.
Did you find anything around the house? I guess I'm referring to where you wrote in your report, you checked the likely path of travel.
Yes, Nayland, I do have
Yes,
a
sir, I
channel.
do
It
recall
is
that. No, we
J.
did not
Robine
find
Law.
anything.
It's really brand new, and if you'd like to look at it,
And
I
do you
would
recall checking the
love to have
pockets
you.
of the
Only a
coat?
couple videos so
worn
far,
by
but
the
I'd like
suspect?
to build it.
Yes.
Do you recall how the suspect obtained the coat?
I recall what I was told.
Who's smarter, me
So
or
it'd
Mike?
be fair to say you
Probably
weren't
Mike.
sure
Makes more money than I
if
do.
you were only told this information. That'd be fair to say?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
You made reference to saying you only know what you were told. So it'd be fair to say at that time you didn't know unless you were told.
Didn't know what.
how the suspect obtained the coat.
I asked the resident of the house you were at. Actually, I believe he volunteered to me that he had given you a coat to wear.
And you checked the pockets of the coat?
Yes,
And did you find anything?
I did not find anything.
Where is this going?
I have no freaking clue.
It's just making us insane.
It's the
See,
whole
John and I have an obligation to like have a point when we start asking questions.
I mean, at some point, like in a genuine professional trial, there'd be relevance objections.
Sure.
But
sure.
at this point, the prosecution's just going to let him go.
Yeah.
Prove how crazy he is.
I'm very impressed with the
At what
prosecution
point
team here.
did you learn that the suspect who was being detained would be arrested?
At some point later,
And it was another officer's vehicle that the suspect was placed in, correct?
correct.
And when did you leave that scene?
Not for hours.
Again, not an answer that helps
Why
you.
so long?
Because when there is a crime scene that potentially spans blocks, everything needs to be searched for evidence. Witnesses need to be located.
Michael, you're 100% right.
Because once things are gone, things are gone.
Yes.
So it has to all be done right the first time.
Did you write your report that evening?
I believe I wrote it the next morning.
So it'd be fair to say after you had learned a little bit more information, then you wrote the report?
That would be true, yes.
Yeah, that might be the case. I guess the public defender does have to turn over his file when he fires them, right? He doesn't know that the public defender was trying to weave an actual narrative thread.
Yes.
In the
And he
video,
certainly can't do it himself.
Exhibit 80.
And the questions asked are dependent upon
suspect
the prior
gave you
answers.
his name, right?
Precisely.
That's correct.
And you can prepare questions, but it's basically like a logic tree. They say this, so we go down this path. They say that, we go down this path. He's just reading them
Is that
randomly.
right when you handcuffed him? if you recall?
Right around that time, yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Sean obviously is the smartest guy in the room because he can't keep his freaking page. Yeah, I'm going to do exactly that. Mike, I'm going to step out for 1 second for a cigarette.
All right. At least.
And did you talk to any other witnesses that evening besides the owner of the home that you saw the suspect?
No.
Oh, the defense attorney gave him whatever was in the file, I'm sure.
In the hours that you stayed on Elizabeth, did you talk to any other witnesses at all?
No, I looked through a few yards and mostly maintained a perimeter for a search.
Do you recall why you looked through a few yards?
Searching for evidence.
Do you recall what evidence you may have been searching for at that time?
You know, a lot of times you don't know until you find it.
So do you recall what maybe you might have been looking for a weapon or anything like that?
That would have gotten my attention. Yes, absolutely.
Did you find any weapon?
No, sir.
Did you learn any knowledge of any ring video footage that evening?
I don't recall if I viewed the footage that evening or the following day. I did at some point view that ring footage, yes.
So you were aware that night that it was ring footage?
I believe I was aware of it that night. I don't believe I watched it, but I can't say with certainty.
And do you recall initially responding to Clinton Street and Broadway first?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall why you responded to that location first?
To see if I could help anyone.
About how long did you stay there before responding to Elizabeth?
Just a few minutes.
Oh my God, he's still going. I would have been certain there was a new witness on by now.
That's it, Gia. I'm coming over. Want something fruity with an umbrella coming out of it.
Sounds nice.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Referring specifically to the time that you placed the handcuffs on Mr. Brooks, remember that time frame?
Yes, sir.
I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
Do you recall how Mr. Brooks ended up on the ground as that was happening?
I do.
Could you tell us about that?
Objection. Saw
Yeah.
the video.
Overruled. The
He
witness
didn't
may
renew his
answer.
jurisdiction.
We
Stuff.
instructed him to put his hands up and then to get down on the ground.
Did he comply with those instructions?
He did.
Did you or any other officer have to put hands on Mr. Brooks to get him on the ground?
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled.
Speculative.
The witness may answer.
No, sir, we did not.
After he was on the ground, that's when the
Direct
handcuffs went on?
observation.
That's
Objection
correct.
leading.
Overruled. She may answer.
Your answer again was,
That's correct.
at any point after the handcuffs went on, did you or any other officer throw Mr. Brooks to the ground?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
We did not.
How did you treat Mr. Brooks as you moved him from his prone
my
position on
deadline.
the ground to the squad car?
Objection.
Overruled. She may answer.
Stop.
As the video shows, he was instructed, let's call it the path of least resistance, to get up off of the prone position, eventually to his feet with a minimum of discomfort.
Did you successfully achieve that objective?
Objection speculative.
I'll rephrase.
Are you able to answer?
Yes,
Go ahead.
in as best as one can stand a person up when they have their hands handcuffed behind their back. Yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down.
You can tell the judge is tired of his stupid objections
Oh.
when the prosecution offered to rephrase, and the judge is like, "No, you can answer."
Statement called. Next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Officer Garrett Luling.
She was rock solid. I liked her.
He was fantastic.
I didn't. So they show up from the ring today, and you saw that perspective. What you don't realize is this officer does not know what's going on. She kind of hears a thing, shots fired. She's randomly patrolling the neighborhood, trying to figure out what's going
Good
on.
afternoon, officer. If
She
you
comes
please make
across
your
him.
way to the witness stand,
Right.
which is up a riser
And
to
And
my
does the
right.
right thing
When you
immediately.
please
It's
remain
impressive.
Standing.
Places the
Raise
keys in
your
his
right
pocket,
hand,
which is
and
the
my
most
clerk,
critical
Teresa,
element
is
of
on
the
my left.
testimony, in my
We'll
opinion.
swear you in.
Mhm.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. If you would please state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Sure.
You guys are
First
naughty.
name is Garrett. Last name is Luling.
My chat's
First
naughty,
name
and
is
I
spelled
don't know why.
Garrett. My last name is spelled Luling.
Thank you. Go ahead, Attorney Upper, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Officer Luling.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21 of 2021. And you are aware of the Waukesha Christmas parade taking place that
I'm not going to
afternoon.
play
Is that
fashion
correct, sir?
police, but that is a black
That was
mark.
Hold on. Understand it's leading, there is some leeway when it's just laying foundation, so it's overruled and the witness may answer and the answer he provided may stand. Go ahead.
Correct. I was assigned to work the Christmas parade.
All right. At some point in time, were you aware of injuries to those involved in the parade, sir?
Objection leading.
Yes.
Overruled. Make sure you wait till I rule on the objection, please.
Sorry.
And at some point later that evening, were you aware of a suspect being taken into custody in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
Objection, lady.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
All right, I want to direct your attention to that time frame, please. Did you respond to that area, sir?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I was initially parked setting up a perimeter near the area of Southwest Avenue in Wood. When I heard Specialist Klein come over the area indicating that there's a subject going door to door in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, and then traveled north and to Elizabeth Street, which is right off of Southwest Avenue, Northwest Avenue at that point. And I traveled westbound on Elizabeth Street looking for the subject.
What did you see when you arrived in that area?
Initially, as I came to the area, I observed an officer from the village of McGuanago, an officer from the Big Bend Police Department, as well as an officer from the City of Delafield Police Department in the area. I traveled westbound, spotlighting
He looks like me. I
residents
am much
in the
better
general
looking.
area looking for the subject.
Thank you.
Initially, I didn't see anyone, so I made it to the end of the street, at which point I began to double back. I briefly stopped and spoke with some civilians in the area, just saying, hey, if you see anyone, call the police department, let us know. And as I traveled back eastbound on Elizabeth Street in the 500 block, I observed the three officers from those aforementioned police departments detaining one subject at gunpoint in the front lawn of 553 Elizabeth Street.
You had indicated there were people out and about, civilians.
Yes, there was some people out on their porches or patios. I had my lights going on my squad, so that drew attention for people to kind of look out and call out to me as I was making a Y turn.
Do you know about what time of day this was?
Not off the top of my head. It was dark out though.
Okay. As in relation to when the incident at the parade occurred to when you're arriving on Elizabeth Street, can you give us a rough time frame?
Meeting.
Overruled. You may answer.
45 minutes an hour at the max.
Okay. So when you roll up on 553 Elizabeth Street, tell me what you saw.
So as I was coming back eastbound, I could see the lights from the other officers illuminating a subject on the ground. I immediately pulled up, parked my squad, got out and began running to where the officers were. And as I came up to where they were in the front lawn area between the residents and the sidewalk, they were in the midst of handcuffing and detaining a subject on the ground.
The subject that was being handcuffed and detained on the ground, you see that person in the courtroom here today?
I do, yes.
Are you able to identify him?
Yes,
Would you like him to remove his mask in order to do so, sir?
please.
Okay.
Mr. Brooks, if you please. Thank you.
So the subject I saw was Darrell Brooks seated at the defendant's table wearing a dark colored suit with a gray shirt.
Now, you said he was already on the ground in the process of being handcuffed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see any officer slam Mr. Brooks to the ground?
No.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did you see any use of force directed towards Mr. Brooks by any police officer on the scene at that time?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did you approach Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes.
What did you say?
I asked him to identify himself. At that time, he said Brooks. I again asked him to identify himself. He identified himself as Darrell Brooks.
That's the name he gave you, identifying himself.
Yes.
Objection. That's not what it says in the video.
Overruled.
Yes.
All right. Did that name have any significance when you heard it, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I knew prior to responding to that location that Officer Moss, who had initially located the car, had made a cursory check of the vehicle. During that time, he found documentation belonging to a Darrell Brooks.
Okay. At some point, do you recall getting Mr. Brooks up off the ground?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
I didn't hear
Yes.
that. What the hell was the objection?
Tell us what you remember at that point.
Darrell Brooks was picked up off the ground or assisted off the ground. He was then escorted to the front of my marked squad where I searched him.
At this point, are you probably the only officer from the city of Waukesha Police Department on the scene?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, I was the only officer from the city of Waukesha at that time.
And the other officers were providing mutual aid to the city of Waukesha Police Department?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes.
Being the squad from the city of Waukesha and the parade occurring in Waukesha, did you take custody of Mr. Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what he was saying. All right.
Prior to placing him in your squad, was Mr. Brooks searched?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Tell us what you remember about that, sir.
So I searched Mr. Brooks, during which time I
Only
found
a hell of an appellate record.
some
on this.
cards in his right pocket that had his name on it, as well as a black Ford key.
When you say some cards, what can you describe those further, please?
Debit or credit cards.
All right, I'm going to show for you an item that's been marked as Exhibit 176. It's been previously admitted. I'd ask that it be displayed for the jury again, Your Honor.
Oh, permission granted.
Objection.
You see the photograph on the monitor in front of you, sir?
Yes.
Do you see yourself in that photograph?
Yes.
Where are you?
I am the officer with his back to the camera with police written across a fluorescent yellow and orange vest.
Do you recall what you were doing at this point in time?
At that point, it looks like I'm buckling Darrell Brooks into the back of my squad,
All right.
placing him into the back of my squad.
And you see a set of hands on the right side of the photograph, sir?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
You see the objects that are being held in those hands, sir?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
Is that consistent with what you just testified as to the items you removed from Darrell Brooks before placing him in your squad?
Objection.
Overruled.
Consent to being called that name in this.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes.
It's a little blurry, but can you circle for us the key that you indicated you found?
With my finger, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And because it's a little hard to see, can you describe that key as you recall?
As I recall, the key was a single key. I don't recall there being any keychain to it. It was a fob type that had some buttons and it had a Ford emblem on it that indicated that was a Ford key.
Okay. What did you do with these items after you, well, strike that. That's, should ask a better question. Did you eventually get these items back from the officer who was holding them?
Yes.
And what did you do with them?
I took custody of them until they were ultimately turned over to Detectives Stern and Detectives Carpenter.
All right. Do you remember Mr. Brooks asking you why he had been detained?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Yes.
You may answer, sir.
Yes.
Do you remember specifically what he said?
I recall that he had questioned why the police were handcuffing him or why the police were detaining him.
Did you reply?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him that he was being detained as he matched a description of a subject involved in a crash in the downtown area.
Did you say anything about the parade?
No.
Okay.
Oh, this cross is going to be a nightmare.
Thank you, officer. I don't have any other questions for you.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. That all made a lot of
Cross.
sense.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let's read some more questions I don't understand the purpose of.
Yep.
Do you recall speaking with Officer Moss that evening?
Not distinctly.
open
There
question
might have
on
been some
file.
radio traffic between me and him at one point.
So it'd be fair to say that radio traffic, you guys spoke.
I can't tell you if I had direct contact with him or if I just recall him airing particular pieces of information.
I would
Do
have
you
brought
recall
up
any
that you were doing this.
particular bit of information that was aired by Officer Moss?
You're going to have to be more specific.
Do you recall Officer Moss airing that he has spoken with a potential eyewitness who indicated that they had observed numerous suspects run from the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
I recall Officer Moss airing that to the officers responding in general that there may have been more than one suspect that had ran from the vehicle.
Good answer.
And do you recall if that aired information? Wait a second, back that up.
Oh, he literally has no idea what the hell he's actually asking.
No.
Or why.
You just stated that there may have been any reason why the air information said it had been, that he had spoken to a potential eyewitness?
Objection, hearsay, and
Grounds.
false or speculation as to the words of another person.
Grounds.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Do you recall any air information of description?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
You're asking him the description of the suspect leaving the vehicle?
What he heard aired?
Overruled, he may answer.
I recall there being a description of either a light-skinned black male or possible Hispanic male wearing a white shirt, as well as the potential of a white male with curly brown hair.
Now, what the judge did for him is a defense attorney would say it's not for the truth of the matter, it's for his state of mind.
Do you recall what you did after hearing that air information?
Yes.
What did you do?
I responded to Officer Moss's general location, at which point he requested that a perimeter be set up. So I responded further south to set up a perimeter to attempts to keep those people within the confines of that perimeter.
Do you recall what general area that was?
You're going to have to be more descriptive to what general area are we talking about here?
The area where Officer Moss was.
Officer Moss.
I think you
was at
literally
228
skipped the question.
Is that the area that you responded to?
Lay the foundation for the other.
Generally, yes.
What do you mean by generally?
I was driving to the residence when he asked that a perimeter be set up.
And do you recall where you set that perimeter up?
Yes.
And where was that?
It was loosely around that residence as well as to the south.
Yes, what do you mean by loosely? I'm going to lose it.
What streets were to the south and to the west?
Numerous streets.
Well, I'm referring strictly to your perimeter that you set. Do you recall which street you set your perimeter?
I want to say that I was probably the southernmost squad at that time, and I was at Southwest and Wood.
I'm sorry, what was the second street?
Wood?
Thank you.
You know, by the way, just looking at his paper, if you highlight everything, it's not particularly helpful.
He really is. I'm surprised you can read it all, honestly.
Oh, come on. He got hooked on phonics. Like,
while setting up your perimeter, did you receive any more information about the suspects who fled from the vehicle?
It was all kind of at the same time.
Do you recall being advised that the male black had possibly fled southbound and that the male white may have fled in the westbound direction?
Your Honor, I object. Move to strike. He's providing statements and facts that are not in evidence. They're based on hearsay.
The question was,
that's a good.
Do you recall being advised that? That was the question. does he recall being advised?
Still hearsay, sustained.
So who were you advised by?
Officer Moss.
And do you recall what you were advised?
Objection, hearsay.
My understanding is Officer Moss already testified,
Sustained. Next question.
but I could be
That's
wrong on
sustained,
that.
Your Honor.
Next question, please. Hearsay.
Yeah.
Is that hearsay?
All this sandwich talk. But finally got to you, huh, Mary?
And how did you end up being dispatched to the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
By the
I heard another
dispatcher.
officer error that they were listening to Waukesha County communications indicating that there was a person going door to door in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street.
I'm sorry, you said you stated you heard that?
Yes.
Would that be like hearsay?
Are you you're objecting to yourself?
The matter asserted. If it's just explain what he did next, then no.
That was the same question I asked before, Your Honor.
Yeah, but you don't know how to defend a hearsay objection, you idiot.
Oh.
And the judge did it for you.
And upon arriving at Elizabeth Street, you stated that there was already a suspect being detained at the moment that you arrived?
No.
Like my profession, I hate when it's done poorly.
So what did you observe when you got to the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
I already explained that upon getting there, I traveled westbound on Elizabeth Street till it ended, at which point I turned around and came back. So when I initially got there, I didn't see anything.
Did you observe someone being detained at gunpoint?
Not upon initially getting there, no.
Not initially. Did at any time you observe someone being detained at gunpoint?
Yes, I already said that.
Do you recall what they had on?
Yes.
You state for the record and for the jury what they had on?
They had red t-shirts and blue jeans.
Blue jeans.
God, the pants
were
are
they
you-
jogging?
Oh,
jogging
no.
pants or blue jeans?
They're the cops in jogging pants.
Oh, God, because I'm paying attention to the pants somebody's wearing when they're a potentially violent felon.
We're screwed. It's all over for the prosecution. That's it.
Yeah. You know what?
Back
We gotta
it in.
let 'em go.
And do you recall why the suspect was being detained at that time?
Why does he keep asking
Yes.
open-ended questions? He's awful at this.
What do you recall about why they were being detained at that time?
You were being detained for involvement in a crash in the downtown area.
There's nothing shocking about the idea that the officers had finally found him after he fled didn't necessarily
upon-
know the extent of what he had done.
Yep.
When the suspect was detained,
All right, undecided middle ground. That's funny.
do you recall stating that you were confident they were either the driver or passenger of the vehicle found at 338 Maple?
No, I never said that.
What I like about his bumbling approach is it gives us a few seconds between questions to comment.
Yeah. There's that.
Did you give a report about what happened that evening?
Yes.
Did you write it yourself?
Yes.
So I'm reading from your report right here that you just stated that you wrote. Do you recall saying, I was confident that Brooks was either the driver or passenger of the striking vehicle?
That is in my report. However, you asked if I said that. I didn't say that. That's a more or less an internal dialogue with myself saying that I felt confident that you were the suspect, either the driver or passenger in that vehicle.
Did the judge say these couldn't be put into evidence?
I don't know if this is an evidence or if it's an exhibit, but yes, there's a much better way. Namely, hand it to him and make him read it.
So
but
it'd be
he
fair to
doesn't
say
know how
at
to
the
do that.
time
Exactly.
of your report, you were confident that it was more than one person in the vehicle?
No.
So why did you write the report in that fashion?
I was confident that you were involved with that vehicle and with the crash in the downtown area.
So would it be fair to say that you could have written your report in that fashion instead of the fashion that you wrote it?
Objection, argumentative.
What does that mean?
That's the form of the question.
He could have, but he didn't. Turns out his report was right.
Any reason why you were referred to a passenger?
Yes. Initially, there was reports that multiple people fled from the vehicle, from the area of the vehicle.
I would flee from the area of the vehicle at the time. Doesn't mean I was
Because of those reports is why you wrote your report in that fashion, or in the fashion that you wrote it.
Objection asked and answered, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
grounds. Why didn't you exonerate me in your report? Because you're
Funny,
guilty.
Greg, but assumes way, way, way too much of Mr. Brooks.
That actually is a good point. But in fairness, after that night, typing up the report, I wouldn't exactly have perfect grammar either.
Right. Yeah. I wonder how many more they have to do. They've been going chronologically. We're post incident here. It's Tuesday. I think this case wraps up this week. Maybe tomorrow.
You mean the state's case?
Yeah. He's not gonna put on a case, is he?
Being detained at a
Well, they're in your time zone, so they still have 2 hours to go.
At that time, did you know the suspect's name?
It's possible. I mean, look, they put the keys in his hand, or at least in his pockets. I feel like even if the
And
state
you found a
says
credit or debit card when conducting a search.
Yes.
Do you recall where you found that credit or debit card?
Your right pocket.
that took some effort, Rob. I appreciate it. It's funny. You got to fight with spell check on that. The whole deal. Well done. Well played.
That's awesome.
In Exhibit 176, where it shows someone holding the credit card, was that you
Was what me?
holding the credit card?
We already know who was holding the credit card. She just testified, you idiot.
But you are the one that found it.
Yes.
Okay.
And what else did you find?
Why are you playing the prosecutor's role?
And where did you find that?
Your right pants pocket.
Does that help you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if this is fucking with the audio, but oh my God. What a dumb question. If there was any ambiguity at all, now there's none. Congratulations.
You play Exhibit 80 for the witness.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Oh, please play it.
The entire
Can you-
video or just a part of it?
I'm guessing around the 4-minute and 50 or something, somewhere up in that area.
That's the last 10 seconds, sir. Is that what you want?
Yeah, somewhere up in that area.
Oh dear God. I am gonna become a chain smoker by the end of this trial if we keep covering it.
Further back.
A little further back.
And we should keep covering it, Mike.
What you discussing?
If we're near the end, I might write it out.
436.
A little further
Well,
back.
somebody said that he had 12 or 13 witnesses.
Oh, good Lord.
Maybe,
It might be another week, but
yeah,
we could
wherever
tag
it's at
team
right
it.
now, 409.
He might
You
get
play
some
it
friends or
real quick.
family to come in and say he's a nice guy.
I don't want to
Sound
cover
like
that.
it?
I don't care about that. But that wouldn't be appropriate in the
I don't
penalty.
really think the
No,
sound is
but that
necessary.
won't stop him from trying. He doesn't know what's appropriate and what's
More
not.
so the visual.
Yeah. Fair.
Okay.
I'm gonna look into it because this
9
is
from 4,
this is fun.
15.
It's a terrible circumstance, but
They are okay. They're taking the jury to see the actual car. Yep, they'll do that. Sometimes they'll do a site inspection or something like that.
sure.
Do you remember this video?
No, I didn't. That's not my body cam video.
All right, so it's not the state's not going to rest tonight.
Pause. Go back like 2 seconds.
Thank you
Very-
once again for doing that.
Is that
Ah,
this touchscreen, right?
I have no idea what
This
I'm
right
looking
here. The credit debit cards that you found.
I can't tell what that is.
Can you
Nor
clear
can
that?
I.
Madam Clerk, please and thank you.
Thank you. Can you go back maybe 2 more seconds? I think it's a clearer shot.
For the record, Your Honor, it's not that easy to just jump back 2 seconds. I mean, if he has a specific time, we can jump to a time.
This is the clerk.
How would I know if I've only seen the video once? Like, why is it that big of a deal?
Wait, you've only seen the video once, and you're
Right
representing
here.
yourself.
Right there,
435, Your Honor.
435.
Now it's on 437. We
Can
started
you pause it
it
at
for
435?
Right, it was started and then you said pause and obviously it takes time to do that, so.
Okay.
The record should reflect that Mr. Brooks has drawn a circle around something on the still image. Go ahead, ask your question.
The record should reflect consent to that name.
Ask your question, sir.
We don't need your consent to build a record.
Around the 435 mark, you can see whoever this is holding the credit card, debit card. Is that you?
Objection, that is a fact not in evidence, Your Honor.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Can you clear that?
Madam Clerk, please. Thank you.
You said that you found a key. Where's the footage of you finding the key?
I don't have a body cam, so there's not going to be video of my body cam.
So if you were wearing your body cam, it would have depicted what you found during your search.
No, the city of Waukesha did not have body cams during this incident.
So it'd be fair to say there is no footage of you finding a key. Grounds.
It's argumentative, and he's already said he was not wearing a body camera.
Actually,
he can't
he
know
said,
possibly. It's speculation. He can't know possibly.
Actually, he said the city of Waukesha didn't have body cams. He didn't say.
Right. It's sustained. It assumes facts not in evidence and calls for speculation on the part of this witness. And there's also a lack of foundation as to this witness.
Other than that, it's fine.
Yeah,
all
of those. I mean,
the jury will disregard that statement made by Mr. Brooks. It's not his time to testify. You will have
it's
an
not,
opportunity
but
to do that later if you choose.
I don't consent to be.
He's going for a high score. Well, I'll give him this. He prints double-sided, so at least he's good for the environment.
That was probably his prior attorney.
Madam Clerk, you can take that off.
I know.
Oh, good Lord. Is he going to testify?
I don't know if that has been decided yet, but I think there's a possibility.
I don't know what his. I think he's got a bunch of convictions and stuff, but not that it
At
matters.
any time that evening, were you able to detain any other suspects?
No.
I actually hope he does. It would be entertaining. Yeah, Tina, he doesn't have to make a decision until the prosecutor's case in chief is done. Well, if he has felony convictions in Georgia, Nevada, and Wisconsin, at least he's well-traveled. Demon.
Yeah, you guys make a good point. I think he probably will testify because he's going to be convicted anyway, and he just wants to.
He's a narcissist,
right? Wants to hear himself talk. Get attention.
So we know if Wisconsin is a death penalty state.
After the suspect was detained, do you recall how long you stayed at the scene?
I'm depressed after the Parkland shooting verdict.
Which particular part of the scene?
Thank you,
You
David.
had detained the suspect.
At 553 Elizabeth Street?
Correct.
Off my best estimate, I was probably there for about 25 minutes.
And what did you do in those 25 minutes?
During those 25 minutes was time detaining you, as well as briefly speaking with the homeowner, and ultimately turning you back over to detectives.
And what did you do from there?
From there, I went back into a perimeter position.
Would that be referring to the perimeter that you mentioned that you had set?
Yes.
Around the area of where Officer Moss was located?
Yes.
Would you like to finish that thought?
And how long did you stay at that perimeter?
I'm not 100% positive. Extended period of time.
Do you recall why you were dispatched back to that perimeter?
At that time, there was a possibility that there may,
like I said, unless you're literally a cabin,
party
you're
involved.
confident to stand trial.
So as the investigation was still ongoing and they were
Not
attempting to
strictly true, but
determine
pretty much.
if there was another party involved, the perimeter was maintained so that no one could squeeze out through that perimeter and flee.
It'll be narrative, I'm sure.
Wouldn't it be great if he just has a conversation with himself the entire time?
It'll be like a little Darrell Brooks TED Talk.
Yeah. That'd be fun to watch. It'll make me want to throw my head through a wall, but, you know.
Right.
No, Gut, the bar is very, very low for competency. Literally, if you can write your own name and you can speak 8 words of English, you are competent to stand trial in this country.
And
you need to have very severe mental illness.
Do you recall there being ring footage?
Bad competency hearing.
Of the residents of 553 Elizabeth Street?
We're headed there,
Yes.
Martin.
Did you view those? Did you view the ring footage that evening?
No.
Did you view the ring footage at all?
Yes.
Thank you, Christina.
That's a great point. Him being on the stand would be really fun for the court reporter.
And I, for one, this is a no cocktail event for me because I was working midday here. It really wasn't a plan. It was more poor planning, is what it was.
Well, I'm very glad that you're doing it. I'm enjoying it immensely.
Good for you.
As I step out and take another smoke because this idiot. But I keep it running on my phone, so I will be informed when I return.
No worries, my man.
What happened to the ring footage?
We're going to be here all day.
A copy of the ring footage was emailed to me by the homeowner.
This is not my time zone, so we still got another hour and change of this.
Do you recall if it was multiple videos?
Yeah, he was involved in the jury selection.
Yes.
Do you recall that about 1640 hours? I don't know. Would that be 440?
Yes, that's 440.
Do you recall directing traffic at the intersection of Barstow Street and Corina?
Yes.
And do you recall an officer airing anything over the radio at that time?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall what that was?
An officer had aired that you had driven around his barricade or into the parade route.
You. Who do you refer to as you?
You, Darrell Brooks.
And you knew that at that time?
Not at that time, no.
So how would you say you?
You just did.
Throughout the investigation, it was determined to be you.
He thought he was going somewhere with that.
Do you recall it being any other air information at that time?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
Objection, calls for hearsay.
Grounds.
Are you offering it for the truth of the matter asserted or for some other reason? Otherwise, it's hearsay.
For the truth of the matter, I'm asking him, does he recall what was aired on his radio?
Well, then you're asking him to testify to
truth.
hearsay, so it's sustained.
Do you recall an officer indicating that a vehicle was continuing westbound and possibly blaring its horn?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same objection, Your Honor. He's attempting to testify and offering hearsay statements into the record.
I'm not attempting to testify.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
Grounds for the
reasons the
sustain.
state indicated.
Do you recall?
You can ask the witness if he heard any horns at that time. That would be different. But what someone else may have reported would be hearsay if it's offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Well, I'm reading from the report that he wrote.
That doesn't take away that it's hearsay. If it's in the report and someone else said it, it's actually double hearsay.
Do you recall hearing about a vehicle blowing its horn?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, he asked if this witness heard. That's how I heard the question. I think that's what you were asking. You mean at the,
Did you hear about a horn?
What did you hear, Your Honor?
if the question was, did this witness hear a horn, then that witness may answer the question. Did he hear about a horn? That's different. That would be hearsay. So why don't you rephrase your question, sir?
Did you hear a horn?
No.
The judge just literally gave him legal advice. I hate when they do that.
And just so we're clear, I assume that your question meant when he was at Barstow and Corina. Because that's the Rio's position,
Correct.
right? That's what you meant?
Yeah.
Was that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, very well. Next question.
Can he call a Ouija board to the stand? He might need to at this point.
Do you have any other questions for this witness?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be a no.
It would be in your report that a vehicle was blaring its horn?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Grounds.
Assumes facts not in evidence. Calls for hearsay. Sustained.
Have you read the complaint in this matter?
No.
All of the above.
Have you seen the complaint in this matter?
I'm gonna take a little slight pass on the last one, but if so, not enough to make him not be able to stand trial.
You yourself filed a claim in this matter?
No.
Oh, we're going
anyone
soft
who
hit.
filed a claim in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
We're getting to corpus delicti.
Overruled. He may answer if he knows.
No.
Oh, please go full corpus delicti. Let's
Do you
see it.
recall whom subpoenaed you to testify here today?
The state of Wisconsin via the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office.
You said state of Wisconsin. Who would you be referring to when you say state of Wisconsin?
The entity that is the state of Wisconsin judicial system.
So the state of Wisconsin is an entity to the best of your knowledge.
Yes.
Is an entity a living, breathing human?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant. Argumentative.
Sustained. Next question.
Do you know if the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff in this matter?
Okay, that'd be a no.
An entity is the plaintiff?
Objection. Argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Technically, yes, the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff in the matter, but
Have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
the people
Objection.
of the state of Wisconsin.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained. It's also overly broad.
Through their
You ever had
elected
a phone conversation
Objection. Irrelevant.
with the plaintiff?
About this case,
About this case?
overruled. You may answer.
No.
The people of the state of Wisconsin, through their elected bodies, enacted these laws, and they have been injured by your behavior, on top of the actual victims of the case. That's the difference between criminal and civil law. Congratulations. That's your.
Have you ever seen the
quick and
plaintiff in
dirty
this
law
case?
lesson.
Objection, Your Honor. This entire line of questioning is completely irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained on relevance grounds. Next question, please.
Grounds. She just said them. We're back.
Oh, please keep going. This is
further
delicious.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Mike.
No, nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. This will be a good opportunity to take a mid-afternoon break as well.
But I just got back.
All rise for the jury, please.
Oh, Lord.
They've been lenient with him, but they're going to be lenient with somebody facing life in prison or a death sentence. He's not facing a death sentence because he's in Wisconsin, but they're going to be lenient
I get it.
because they want it to stick.
I get it.
Procedurally lenient.
Yes, fair. But at some point,
There does come a point.
We'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
15-minute recess?
how are we going to vamp for 15 minutes?
The hell's going on? I got nothing to talk to you about for 15 minutes. What is this? That's insanity. I don't have cocktails.
That's crazy. No, I watching this guy, it's interesting to me because I'm still ticked off about the Parkland shooter case getting life.
Right.
So we can touch a little bit on that if you want, or we can kind of recap what went on here. And this guy, I don't know what it takes to get a death penalty in this country anymore.
I didn't even follow up on it just because I saw that thing with Parkland. I was doing something else, and then it came out, so I didn't even check the verdict. I'm sure he's guilty, but
so I was following it on every single count. There was at least a juror that decided not death. And Florida, I think it was 2018. It didn't used to have to be unanimous, but then the Supreme Court in Florida made it unanimous a requirement for the penalty phase.
Right.
And, so at some point, was it 3 jurors? I didn't actually know what the count was, but it was at least one. They agreed to every aggravating factor under Earth that they agreed literally in the verdict forms. And I watched this and I was getting ticked off. They agreed to every aggravating factor that the prosecution put forth. And then they said, is there at least one mitigating factor? And they basically played a fetal alcohol syndrome defense. That because his mother was drinking while he was in the womb, his brain's not properly developed, and that's enough of a mitigating factor to justify not giving death.
Yeah.
That's just a weird concept to me.
Well, the problem with that is, and I don't know what the process is, but you just have a good portion of the population that just won't do it. So it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but fetal alcohol syndrome and autism, fair enough. But still, I think that the issue when it came to Florida changing the situation, Florida hasn't executed anyone since, I think, 2010, I want to say. I'm not certain. But how do you shoot 12 people to death, most of which are children at school? Like, if that sort of evil doesn't merit, then nothing does.
Then you don't do it, right?
That's basically, all right, fine. So
we effectively don't have the death penalty. I mean, we do in some places, but you're not going to get people to do it.
Well, and I think that's the issue, is that I think I was on where we said that criminal trials, you only need 6 jurors, death penalty eligible, you need 12. And all 12 of them need to agree on death.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen as a practical matter.
Yep.
It's similar to, I explained to people in New York, technically New York still has the death penalty. However, the Court of Appeals of New York, which is our highest court, said that there's no, under the New York State Constitution, there is no justifiable means by which to carry it out, which basically invalidates the death penalty, which the legislature agreed to back when Pataki was governor. So it just, it's going out, but yeah, I was ticked off with the Parkland shooter, and it was absolutely heartbreaking to watch the families that don't get that sort of closure.
Yeah.
All right. That's my rant on that subject.
That's understandable. Wait, can't stomach a dime store soft sit vote. Wanted to say hi to my feral friend, Secret Mix Grill, Law Nerds, and of course Law Talk with Mike. Fam, sorry it took me so long to become a member. Mike, I suck. Oh, thank you. You're the best.
Nah.
Well, I'm kind of riveted on this one. This in Waukesha here, I haven't watched all of it, but I've watched a good portion of it. Damn, that town's just full of nice people. I mean, he commits this horrendous crime. Now the people don't know it, but he's just randomly going around the neighborhood. Everyone's nice to him.
Yeah.
The police officers are rock solid.
Well, and again, to do that during a Christmas parade, like that is a heartbreaking thing. Like, people are trying to celebrate, enjoy their time. Everybody's in good spirits, and you go murder a bunch of people, and then you escape, and you're going house to house, and people are relatively kind. Like it's such an insane situation. And all of the cops, I think, were very clear and concise, certainly today. And yeah, no, I am very much anti-murdering children. Yeah, you might be surprised, but I am extremely anti-murdering children.
You're gonna take that bold stance today?
Yeah, you know what? I will say that right now, and yes. But yeah, no, it's a really, I think it's such a sad situation, and for this guy to not, he doesn't understand the gravity of his own actions, which is what really kind of ticks me off. You know, it was the same thing like with the Parkland when he was being sentenced and he was getting the life sentences. He turned back toward the families that were in the gallery and was smirking at them. And I was really, really ticked off at that.
Yeah, you know, we did all that stuff on the Florida v. Summers case.
Yeah.
And that was creepy as it gets. And it almost went to this level in terms of an attempted murder.
Oh, yes.
But ultimately, it's a horrific case, but it's ultimately not as bad as this or Parkland. Yeah,
and no, it's not. I mean, in terms of like an interpersonal, I'm a civil defense attorney, so the kind of lawyer joke, and don't please anyone in the chat take this the wrong way, is like if you hit somebody with your car, you're probably better off backing over them. Because it's going to be a hell of a lot more expensive to have an injured person than a dead person.
All right.
But sorry, it's a stupid lawyer joke, so please take it in that sense. That's not advice.
We don't actually mean it.
Right. But injured people are actually in civil cases more expensive than dead ones. That is literally true.
Yep. Oh, from that perspective, absolutely. Well, this one, I'm kind of into this because I think we're nearing the end. It's just a matter of how much. I just can't imagine that he might say. That's the other thing too. I mean, hell, even I do it. Attorneys do it all the time. You're rolling up and you're not ready to waive things yet. So you're like, oh yeah, Judge, I got 8 witnesses. You got 2. You really got 2.
I'm wondering about that because he might be the kind of person. I think he's been trying to drag this out for the longest time. And I am genuinely curious how many people he is intending to call and how many will actually be accepted. Just because somebody's on the witness list doesn't mean that they're actually relevant to the matter. So, like, you made the point.
You and I both know this, but like a lot of people saw this with the Depp case. I mean, they had all sorts of witnesses, and then they're like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, but even like take Baruch. Like, yeah, at the same time that he's kind of a character witness, he's also a fact witness in terms of the actual, facts of the case. So at the guilt stage of a trial, what is the mom going to say that's relevant to the guilt stage?
Nothing, but that won't stop him from trying.
Yeah, he can certainly try, but I
don't think she'll allow it unless he can make some showing that it's relevant to the elements of the offense. Just what you're saying.
Maybe she talked to him that morning and can talk about his state of mind at the time. It's something like that. You can get away with it, but who is going to come here and defend him?
Who's this lawn lumber guy?
Wait, what should we take the wrong?
I don't even know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or dip.
That's a good argument. That's fair. I'm new to the game. That was just a joke that went around the firm. It's like, we would get a new case. It was a med mal case. And it's like, well, did they die? It's like, no. That's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah. So, all right. So, speaking of which, your channel's up and rolling now.
It's starting to get there.
J. Rabine Law.
Yep. And it's only been about 4 videos. I had a great conversation with Natalie the other day.
I know you got Natalie Lawyer Chick on.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm actually I'm trying to get in touch with Long Island Audit, who is kind of a very respectful First Amendment order that goes around the country, just filming in public buildings and seeing what happens.
Well,
and
you could go on my playlist.
I think you did an interview with him.
Yeah, I did an interview with him. A lot of people got real cranky about it.
I thought he would be a fantastic person to bring on because he grew up about an hour from where I did.
I thought it was interesting. Yeah, get him on.
So I reached out to him. Like I said, the last few days has been a little bit.
I mean, it's better than Natalie Lawyer Chick.
No, don't say that.
Just kidding. I love Natalie.
I love Natalie. She's fantastic, and what I like about her is that she does not back down when we disagree, and it is a respectful, honest debate that's a lot of fun. And we don't agree on much, but that's okay. I was on her channel at one point, and we were arguing over sentencing reform and bail reform, and it was a fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
So
No, she's cool.
Back to the archives.
I've sort of come up with Natalie, you know, from back in the day, long before all this debt purge stuff and everything. Here's what you have. Getting back to death penalty, Mary Malarkey, this kind of thing, all day long. Just a lot of people are vehemently opposed to the death penalty, and I'm not. I'm pro death penalty all day long. I am, but I understand this position. Number one, and respect it. 2, I'm leery of giving the government that power. I don't trust government as a general rule. They've got a few thousand-year history of making horrible decisions across the world. And so while I would, generally speaking, be in favor of the death penalty, I absolutely understand people's hesitancy to go there.
Certainly. And I mean, if you want to go to the history, yeah, all right, yeah, 13th witness is literally the state of Wisconsin. The person, the entity, and what are their terms? The settler. Yeah. But yeah, so when it comes to it, like, people don't realize in the beginning of this country, every felony was not a year or more in jail, it was death. That was the way that we started, and we've certainly improved much from there. But there are certain aspects, and maybe for the death penalty, you need to have a higher standard than beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know what that would be, but I think it should still be available. I think it was Scalia when, what was the state? Was it Tennessee couldn't get the 3-drug cocktail, and somebody sued saying the 2-drug cocktail wasn't effective. And Scalia basically made the point that, look, there is only one penalty for treason, and it's written in the Constitution. So if the Constitution itself recognizes the death penalty, there must be a legal way to carry it out. This is probably 10 or 15 years ago. So, I think that there are circumstances. Nobody doubts that this guy did it. Nobody doubts that you have several people dead. So it's not like we have a misapprobation. So the penalty should apply if the penalty is available. I don't know. Like, with the Parkland shooter, it's like nobody doubts that he did it. Nobody doubts that those kids are dead.
Well, it depends on state, but a lot of times you have a penalty phase or it's imposed by a separate jury finding or whatever. It's different. There are different schemes for it.
Oh, absolutely.
But ultimately, you need at least 6, usually 12 unanimous to impose the death penalty on top of the trial. And you're going to get one of those people is going to say, I simply will not do it as a matter of philosophy.
And I think that's the issue, because in voir dire, you have people who become death penalty eligible based upon specific questioning. And I think that there's a huge incentive for people that don't like the death penalty to lie, frankly. You're asked, if the state proves aggravating circumstances beyond the mitigating factors, are you comfortable or capable of imposing the sentence of death? And they'll say yes, even though they're not.
Right. And there's nothing you can do if they just answer that question.
That's about that.
Yeah.
You can't prove anyone lied. All right. Let's see.
There you go. Wait a second. Wait. Are we
back?
I should probably do this. Because I don't trust us.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised she's taking a 15-minute break. Not that it's a very long break, but I mean, it's late.
Well, what is it? 3:45 your time?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's 3:45. They can come back and do an hour's worth of stuff. I don't see what you're rushing for.
I think part of it is that maybe the state only has one more witness, and then they're going to do the site inspection tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to run over it too far. And by the way, to some of the people in the chat, I would like to explain the theory of justice in this country. There are 4 theories of justice. One is retribution, one is deterrence, one is rehabilitation, and the last is incapacitance. Okay? So for everybody saying get over it, retribution is actually a legitimate theory of justice, that when you cause injury against people and the state, then yes.
Thank you. Be seated.
Okay, we're back. And I will finish my lecture there.
Before we bring the jury back
K-Far
out, we could just maybe
in the
talk
house.
scheduling for a moment. We are back on the record and the audio's on, so that's good. Attorney Opper, where are you at for today? I presume you have probably another witness or so.
Yes, we were just discussing that as well, Your Honor. I have one more witness whom I believe will be shorter in duration, and then we would be prepared to start with another witness who is lengthier, probably about an hour for direct examination.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm sorry, probably about 4 hours because of the recorded interviews that need to be displayed to the jury.
Oh,
so
Lord.
we could either start that witness this afternoon and get some of it done and finish with him in the morning, or just start fresh with him in the morning.
And then do we have the interpreter coming tomorrow?
Yes, and we have that interruption or pause in our case scheduled. I'm told the interpreter will be ready, or excuse me, available anytime between 9:30 and noon. So maybe around the time of the mid-morning break, we would pause what we're doing in the state's case and turn to the defense witness.
All right.
And then, Your Honor, truthfully, at this point, we are probably on track to rest sometime on Wednesday. We've
Well, it's Tuesday.
done good today. We're on schedule for today, but especially if we have to interrupt with that defense witness
Yeah,
tomorrow.
one of the other prosecutors has their mic on.
We don't think we'll be able to finish until sometime on Wednesday.
Okay, understood. And have you been in contact with the witnesses that were subpoenaed by Mr. Brooks
Are you
to
hearing
let
the
them know
reverb
about
too?
when they will be needed?
Yes, and we will need further direction on that from Mr. Brooks as far as what order he would like them in and when he wants them here. And again, depending on
today's
how
still
it
Monday.
shakes out, I think probably about this time tomorrow, we'll be in better shape to know if we would perhaps get to defense witnesses Wednesday afternoon or just start Thursday morning with defense witnesses. Is if he lets us know the order he wants them in, we can start making those arrangements on his behalf, but.
I don't care. You shot 12.
Right now, they all know that they're essentially on call for, more towards the end of the week.
Right? And if my memory serves, the witness who would be called out of order, is that Juan Marquez?
Yes.
All right, so you should probably be ready to have that person, because that's when we have the interpreter available. Tomorrow sometime, and presume you still want to call that witness? All right, and so just be prepared to do your direct when we can fit it in at the appropriate break, and depending on where we end with witnesses tonight. And then if you would let the state know the order of your witnesses, so we can have them come at different times so that they're not all here for days waiting to be called.
Respect. The prosecution didn't tell me the order of their witnesses. Why do I have to tell them the order of mine?
Because they're assisting you in getting them to court. They've served the subpoenas on your behalf. And as a courtesy to those witnesses, I need you to provide, I don't even care if it's the order, but if you say these 3 will be called in the morning, these 3 will be in the afternoon, that would be okay with me. I just want to be able to tell those witnesses through the DA, you 3 will be Wednesday afternoon,
you
will be
dummy.
whatever the number is, will be Thursday morning, and the rest Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, whatever it may be.
I get what you're saying, but it's still, from what I'm hearing from the prosecution, they're not sure exactly when they'll be resting their case. So
I think they're trying to rest their case sooner rather than later, but they have some witnesses to get through. And what they're telling us is that will be sometime on Wednesday.
Yes, everybody's hearing the end.
That they will take in their case to call Mr. Marquez so that
That's Wednesday.
He can be questioned by you with the interpreter.
So wouldn't it make more sense to start calling my witnesses Thursday then?
No, you should be ready to go Wednesday afternoon. I'm not going to take a break for that. You should be ready to go. I mean, if we get done at 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, that might be a different story, but it sounds like we should be able to call witnesses. Of course, you will need to let me know if you're going to give an opening statement. You had deferred that, and that could adjust some of the timing, but so I need you.
That's your answer. When they rest, give your opening
provide that
statement
order
Wednesday
to the
afternoon,
state,
and then start your witnesses on
tomorrow when
Thursday.
you come into court.
Oh my
that they can
God,
work with
shocking
those
concept.
witnesses.
Probably say I'm not going to provide a specific order. I'm not going to do that.
Well, then you need to tell which day, like morning and afternoon, and how many witnesses per. I'm not going to just bring them in all at the same time and make them wait. That's not, that would be a discourtesy to those witnesses who you are calling. So I want to have some idea of what your game plan is for them.
I get that, but I'm still confused on. I essentially didn't know who they was calling in order.
That's not really relevant at this moment, sir. So I need you to provide the order.
I'm not going to provide the order.
Or
Guys,
by
the answer is coming from the courtroom. It's
Wednesday
not me or
afternoon.
me.
Then you won't have the
Thursday morning,
witnesses.
Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, unless they're very short. Just keep in mind, we generally have about, when we start at 8:30, we go till about noon. Probably start up an hour and 15 minutes after the lunch. So you have another couple of hours. So you should be able to know about how long you're going to question them, and just give us who those are for each of those blocks. And then be ready for Mr. Marquez tomorrow.
I'll be ready for that, but
All right.
I'll probably have an idea of who I want to, who I think should come in, but I'm not going to provide an order.
Well, if he wants our assistance, Your Honor, we will do that. Otherwise, he can be responsible for getting these witnesses here himself.
There you go.
You've got
That's
to
the answer.
cooperate with this process, or they're assisting
You
you.
lose the courtesy.
Otherwise, you're going to be
You cooperate.
responsible for telling these witnesses when to come in.
And so how am I supposed to do that?
Well,
Good luck.
then you should cooperate with the state and their assistance to help you, sir.
Figure it out.
I'm not going to give a specific order.
Okay.
Sir, are you
All right.
willing to provide who the witnesses are
And go
by
to law school.
half day.
I just said that.
All right,
I
then
said I'm
that's
not
what I
gonna-
need by tomorrow
I said I'm
morning.
not giving an order. Is
That's
what I
fine.
said.
I'm okay with that, and the state will be okay with that because I said they'll be okay with that.
We're
So,
okay, Judge, thank you.
all right, thank you.
So what about what's supposed to be going on today? How late do we plan to go today?
We'll have to see how long this witness lasts and if we can start the next witness. I 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe even 5:30. We'll see. So with that, let's bring the jury out.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction at some point?
Are you serious?
Not beyond what I've already addressed.
Oh, God.
But you
damn.
addressed it. You didn't prove it. You didn't verify.
Oh,
Damn it.
It's not verified proof that you have subject matter jurisdiction yet. It's not been proven on the record.
oh, good Lord. I might have to pour one. I might have to break down.
What does he want? A motion for reconsideration? Oh, God.
Is that a judicial determination, Your Honor, that you're not going to answer that?
Oh, my God.
Your request is noted for the record. I've already
Thank
addressed
you,
it.
Jesus.
Is it noted for the record?
Wait. Ben Bateman, how you doing, brother?
Should be noted for the record. Also, that's
Hey, long
All
talk
rise
is
for the
fine.
jury, please. Thank you.
First time meeting you. Nice to meet you.
That's John O'Brien, Ben
When
Bateman.
we go get the answer
Nice to meet you.
that subject
How you
matter
doing, John?
jurisdiction, though.
Good. I'm,
Yes,
slowly
I'm
losing
back
brain
at-
cells.
First year law school here of subject matter jurisdiction. I'm a one
All right,
L again.
I can't take it anymore. It's that time. I'm gonna pour myself a drink. You guys hold this down.
All right.
Keep my chat under control. They're unruly, but they're funny.
That's fair.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
All right, Ben, I'm going to make that your job because I need a cigarette.
Can we offer you may call your next witness?
Thank you. The State
All
Coast
right,
Officer
I'll
Leha.
fly solo, no problem.
Good afternoon, Officer Leha. If you would please make your way to
You
my
guys
witness
go
stand. When
attend
you
your
get there,
vices.
please
I got this.
remain standing, raise your right hand. My
Have you been
clerk,
watching
Teresa,
any of
will
this?
Swear you in.
No, I've just seen like news clips and things like that.
Oh, it's so frustrating. So
Thank
frustrating.
you,
All
sir.
right, I'll be
Please
right
have a
back.
seat.
All right.
And I should say the witness stand.
Seriously, Ben, that's
Ownership
awesome.
over it. But in any event, state your first and last names for the record.
First name Draylen, last name Leha.
Could you spell both?
Draelon, last name Leha, Leija.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
All right, thank you, Officer Leha. Sir, I'd like to direct your attention to the evening of November 21, 2021. Were you working
should I take
on
it
duty that
personally?
afternoon?
Yes,
All right, I should ask, where do you work?
City of Waukesha Police.
No,
Department.
yeah, I've
How long have you been a police officer?
A
a
little
lot
over
of
2
yelling
years.
at my son's hockey game. this
So on that
weekend.
evening, were you aware that the parade was taking place in downtown Waukesha?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you work the parade?
No, ma'am.
Do you recall what time it was when you came on duty, sir?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I believe it was a little after 5.
Were you scheduled to work that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And around
I do
the
criminal
time
offense,
of
Julia.
12 a.m. midnight, so now I think we're getting into the next day of November 22 of 2021, were you asked to assist detectives at Waukesha Memorial Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to that location?
I did.
And did you meet with anybody there?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, leading.
There you
Overruled.
go.
You may answer.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
not?
Who did you meet with?
Come on, that was leading.
I met with Detective Jay Carpenter and acting detective at the time, Detective Stern.
Did they ask you to assist them in some fashion?
Yes, ma'am.
What did they ask you to do?
I was tasked.
Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I was tasked with transporting Mr. Brooks to the Muskego Police Department.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Brooks is in custody.
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And the person you were asked to drive to the Muskego Police Department, you see him in this courtroom here today.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you identify him, please? And if Mr. Brooks would please remove his mask, Your Honor?
Objection. I don't
Sir,
consent to
please
being
remove
called
your
that
mask.
name.
Oh, thank you. You were.
For the 100th
Apologies.
time.
Go ahead.
It's the black male sitting at the table with a black suit. and the mask that he just put back on.
Where did you first meet?
Oh, hold on, the record should reflect he did point to the defense table, and the record will reflect he identified him. Go ahead.
Okay. Where did you first meet Mr. Brooks?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
The Waukesha Memorial Hospital, the police hold room.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Mr. Brooks was talking over you.
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. Go ahead, sir.
At the Waukesha Memorial Hospital and the police hold.
What does he want to be called?
And where were you going to take him?
Who knows?
To the Muskego Police Department.
Why?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
Detective Carpenter said that he was going to be there so that he can question them sometime in the near future.
Is the Muskego Police Department located in the city of Waukesha?
No,
Objection,
ma'am.
relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
No, ma'am.
Why didn't you take him back to your police department?
Objection.
Overruled. You may answer.
At the time, we were at the annex, which is our
Hasn't been like
police
this all day.
police department that we usually report out of was being renovated, so we didn't have any holding cells.
Okay. And to your knowledge, does the Muskego Police Department have a holding cell at their facility?
Objections.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And they were willing to house Mr. Brooks there under mutual aid?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So you put him in your squad car?
Yes,
How
ma'am.
All right, tell us about that, your drive.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
How is that
So I
irrelevant?
put
He
Mr.
wants to
Brooks in my
become-
squad car. We left the hospital.
We would all like to be called
Get
Kim
custody
Leslie.
at around 12:18 a.m. We typed in my GPS to the Muskego Police Department. We left the hospital. We had to go eastbound in Wisconsin, which is a road that's parallel to Main Street where the parade was taking place.
Okay.
Once we passed while going eastbound in Wisconsin, there was multiple marked squad cars, so they're with their emergency lights on.
Do you know what they were doing?
Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
They're blocking traffic.
Every time he
Investigating
says relevancy,
incident that
I buy a little
transpired
bit.
that evening.
Okay. Is it just, excuse me, is it just you and Mr. Brooks in the squad car?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, it was just me and Darrell Brooks in the squad car.
Okay.
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
And as you traveled
I
in
would have to
the
say
area
so,
of
Jennifer,
Wisconsin
yes.
Avenue, did
Yeah,
Mr. Brooks make any
seriously.
statements?
Objection.
Yeah.
I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, Mr. Brooks said once we were going eastbound in Wisconsin,
I would
and I
kill
said
actually
looks
see an
they were
appellate
doing something
order
heavy.
Okay.
discussing
Did you
that.
reply to him in any way?
No,
Man.
Did he continue to speak?
yes, ma'am.
What else did he say?
He asked
Are
me
his
if there was a
pronouns he?
basketball
Has he
game going on or
objected to
something,
pronouns yet?
to which I replied, I'm not sure.
Okay.
That one he might actually have a shot on.
Did you continue on transporting him to the Muskego Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course.
And at some point, were you responsible for watching over him at the Muskego Police Department?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, it's not hearsay because it's a party opponent,
Go
opponent
ahead,
party.
just wait till I rule on the
Okay, I'm
objections,
sorry.
please. That's okay.
How long did you watch him for?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
I believe we got to the jail around closer to 1 a.m. I watched him up until about 7 a.m.
What kinds of things do you remember he did overnight?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. He may answer.
Yeah, in a vessel in
Yeah,
the
he was
course
fed around
of
2 a.m.
interstate commerce.
He slept most of the night. He got up around 5 a.m., asked for water. I got him water. And he asked to make a phone call to his daughter.
Okay. Did you allow that?
No,
Did you said it appeared he was sleeping throughout most of the night?
yes, ma'am.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. Did you
At any-
answer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Other than asking to call his daughter, did he make any other statements to you that you can recall?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I remember he made some complaints that the room was too bright. He wanted me to dim the room. Yeah, that's all I remember.
Okay. Like the lights in the room were too bright?
Correct, in the cell, holding cell.
Did you turn off the lights for him?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. His answer may stand.
And were you relieved by another officer then later that morning?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions.
Hey, Cross.
Yep.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, nice.
Go ahead.
Take notes, Ben. You're going to learn something about defense here.
You said that you recall
Where's my pen?
Yeah, take the notes
checking
and do the exact opposite of everything he
every
does.
30 minutes on doing like well-being checks, right?
That's correct.
Oh, he actually
Objection,
asked a
relevancy.
question.
How do you know for sure that the suspect was asleep?
No, well, now we're back there.
I don't know for sure if you were sleeping. I know that the cover was over your head. And I would, every time I go and check in on you, I could see that your chest was rising up and down from underneath the blanket. So it's a possibility that you were sleeping. It's a possibility that you weren't. I know that you're on cover, so it appeared that you were asleep most of the night.
So it'd be fair to say you're not sure.
Oh my God, he's actually asking cross
Answer on it,
questions.
that's an answer.
They're awful, but they're real.
Could have been sleep. You probably was sleep. You probably wasn't, but the blanket was over your head most of the night.
So, if he was asleep or awake, he did not.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Awake. He didn't
No, it
kill the
doesn't matter
people.
worth a dime.
And do you recall why the suspect was not allowed a phone call?
Thanks, Joan.
I was told that you had to wait for Detective Jay Carpenter to talk to you.
Do you know if that's standard practice?
Not sure if it's standard practice or not, but just following his instruction as if because he was going to be doing some investigation.
Would you say it's fair to say that usually
Just like the Nazis at Nuremberg.
allow a phone call at some point?
Relevance.
Just following order.
Grounds.
Relevant, sir?
Grounds.
No.
They gave the grounds. It's
All you
relevant.
need is relevant.
Why would contact to the outside world be restricted?
All right, it's, I'll rule that it's not relevant, sustain the objection. Next
Yes.
question.
Score.
That's giving him a gift.
82. Dale, che.
Do you recall what time you got to, I think it was you said, the hospital to pick up the suspect?
Yes, I left at 12:10. I got to the hospital around 12:18.
To the best of your recollection, do you recall being given any information at that time about the suspect being questioned?
I don't recall if I was given information on you being questioned at that time.
I got you, secret squirrel.
Hi, Kathy. I lost my voice at my son's hockey game over the weekend.
And you referred to a police hold room inside of the hospital?
That's correct.
So it's not unusual for someone to be detained in the police hold room inside of the hospital.
That's correct. There's an active investigation going on.
So would that be the only time if during an active investigation?
usually that someone from the outside coming to the police hold room and ask for an active investigation.
And do you recall where in the hospital this police hold room is located?
In the hospital.
Do you recall where in the hospital it's located?
Usually by where the police officers park their vehicles through the ambulance bay, straight ahead, and it's the second to last door on the right.
That actually is sort of a decent impeachment. That
To the best of your knowledge, do you know if those police hold rooms have cameras?
I'm not sure.
But it doesn't matter to the ultimate facts of the case. It's just
Before that
Not
particular
always.
incident, had you ever been in the police hold room in that hospital?
Yep. Yes. Sorry.
But it brings into question his memory to some extent, and you can make that argument. It's not a great one, but it's there. Hey, if you got nothing, you gotta make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
And you stated that detectives informed
I'm
you
aware.
that
Everybody that keeps telling me that these were written
would
by the
need to
defense
speak
attorney, I understand that.
with the detainee before any
He's
phone calls
awful
would
at
be made.
ordering them. He's awful at using them, and he's awful at presenting them. He's awful at defending against objections. I know this. I don't need to keep being told.
To the best of your recollection, did they explain why to you?
I'm giving credit to the defense
Calls for
attorney, not him.
speculation. I'm sorry, calls for hearsay.
The defense attorney that he wronged, in my opinion, stupidly
Are
fired.
you offering it for the truth of the matter,
Yep.
sir? Then it's hearsay and it's.
Precisely, Super Kelly.
And the detainee was turned over to an Officer Paulson after, I'm guessing at the end of your shift.
That's correct.
What'd I miss?
Do you recall if the cell the detainee was sleeping in that night had cameras?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
well, mostly him reading these notes and not understanding.
Sorry I had to miss that. Thanks, Cats.
Do you recall who did the booking process at the Mosquito Police Department?
Yes, I believe it was Lieutenant Andrika and Officer Klink of the Mosquito Police Department.
To the best of your recollection, do you recall why one of those officers weren't
I mean, I think that is a good thing.
doing the well-being checks?
Because you were in our custody.
Do you recall when you did your report? The date of it?
I don't recall the exact day I did my report.
Was it that same evening or was it sometime after?
He literally just said he doesn't recall.
When you say the same evening, what date are you
The
talking about?
the same evening or morning that you ended up having to do the well-being checks at the Muskego Police Department.
I don't recall if I did it that day, but it most definitely was done shortly after.
Shortly after, meaning a few days or a week or so?
A few days.
You don't recall if it was the 29th of November of 2021?
I don't recall.
Oh dear.
When you were dispatched to the Waukesha Memorial Hospital, did you observe any FBI agents at the scene?
At the scene of the hospital?
Yes.
No.
Can we just convert this to a trial by combat with this guy? I think that'd be perfect.
So to the best
I
of your
have a really
recollection,
fun case out of
the
Staten
two
Island
detectives
I'm
that you
going to
made
send
contact
you,
with.
and it might be fun to do it
Yes.
church style together. Where he actually did request trial by combat. I'll find it and I'll send it over, and if you think it's interesting to go through.
Oh, Judge Manning would just be losing her freaking mind.
I can imagine the color of red.
She'd be all red and just, yeah.
Can you explain what the mobile audio video recording system is?
It's an in-squad camera that records outside the squad car, so like in front of the squad car in the prisoner compartment. And it's a microphone that we put to our vest or on our person to record audio statements.
So it records and it's video and audio.
Correct.
Who can blame him?
Fair enough. I think our sanity is slowly unraveling.
It is.
Did it record the detainee during your transport?
Yes, it did.
Besides the statements that you made reference to, did you observe or hear anything other than those statements?
Vague?
What do you mean? Can you clarify it for me?
Did you observe anything strange or while the recording was taking place?
I don't know what you mean by strange.
Like, did you notice any strange movements by the detainee? Anything that would alarm you in any way?
Nothing that would alarm me, no.
I mean, every one of these cops is awesome so far on the stand. Every one of them, rock solid.
Yeah.
Unshakable. No worries. Let's do it.
And honestly, they do the objections for the prosecution because they know what they're doing. They've done this a million times.
Mm-hmm. Judge Reinhall would also lose her mind in a totally different way.
Did you know the extent of the investigation at the time you were dispatched to Waukesha Memorial?
No, my only task was to transport you to the Muskego Police Department.
further questions.
Any redirect?
Nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. You may step down. Go ahead and call your next witness then, please.
Detective Jay Carpenter.
Is this a guy who's going to go 4 hours?
I believe so. I'm not certain.
And I'm disappointed that he forgot to ask him if he knows the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never personally met the state of Wisconsin, but
I haven't either.
I've heard halfway decent things.
Yeah. Seriously, I feel for the jurors. They're not in the comfort of their own home where
Good
they can
afternoon,
grab a
Detective
cocktail.
Carpenter. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is to my right. It is up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
They should really let the jurors have access to my chat because at least it would be like a little entertaining for them.
I agree entirely. It would be a massive violation of the Constitution, but
sure. It'd be prejudicial.
That might
There's
be
no
appropriate.
about it.
Yes, sir, please have a seat. The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Sure. My name is Detective Jay Carpenter. First name spelled Jay. Last name spelled Carpenter.
Go ahead.
Is he related to the other one? The
I am
female cop
employed
was
as a
Carpenter.
detective with the city.
That would actually be an interesting question.
How long have you been in law
It's a
enforcement?
common name, so it's
18 years.
It's a common name, but that would be a question if I were on the defense, I would ask.
Yes.
yeah.
How long have you been detective?
You won't, but it would be an
Almost
interesting
5
question.
years.
Directing
You
your
don't know
attention
already.
November 21st of last year. Were you working on that day?
Yes, I was.
Were you working the parade?
I had actually been part of the parade. I marched in the parade as part of our Honor Guard unit and had completed my duty before the incident commenced.
So this is the City of Waukesha annual holiday parade.
Correct.
And you say that you, after you finished the parade route, where did you go?
So I went back to the City of Waukesha Police Department after I completed my part of the parade.
And did you
Well
receive
played.
information
Well
while
played.
you're at the City of Waukesha Police Department regarding something that had happened at the parade?
Objection, lead.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
I did. I changed out of my Honor Guard uniform and I was confronted by Officer Daniel Malo. He was working as a desk officer for the department that day. Officer Malo explained that a vehicle had driven through the parade route down in downtown Waukesha, that there were approximately 30 to 40 people down, many severely injured, some possibly deceased, and that there was also an officer involved, shooting involved in the whole event.
What did you do as a result of receiving that information?
At that point, I went on duty and began heading towards the downtown area.
Where did you go specifically?
So when I headed out, there was a lot of radio traffic. It was very chaotic, very confusing. It was certainly like nothing I've ever experienced before, as far as the radio traffic.
I imagine.
The event kind of began to mold into two different forms at that point, in that there were numerous officers calling for ambulances in the downtown area for the injured. But dispatch was also beginning to provide information that there was an individual in the area of the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, which is about a quarter of a mile off the parade route, that was loitering, and it was believed that may be the suspect, so I headed in that direction.
Now, prior to heading in that direction, did you have any information as to why this person in that area would be a suspect?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am. A description had been provided of a possible suspect, and the descriptions being provided by the dispatch of the individual now in this area were comparable, nearly identical to the descriptions I was hearing of the driver from the parade incident.
What did you do then?
I saw that.
As I was searching the area,
So they're out.
I
You can't miss a day of trial.
heard over the police radio that officers from a separate jurisdiction had come in contact with the suspect and that he was in custody. I proceeded over to Elizabeth Street.
In fairness,
where
if it's
the
legitimate,
suspect who was identified in the investigation as Darrell Brooks
get the hell out of there.
was already in custody.
I shouldn't say
Okay.
that.
Now, you stated that the information that you initially received with regards to the person involved physical description, do you recall what that was?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The answer.
Information that I heard over police radio was an African-American male, blue jeans, and a red t-shirt.
So what did you do after receiving this information about a potential person in custody?
I responded to the immediate area. Mr. Brooks at that point was already in custody. I don't recall if he was outside a squad being searched, but he was handcuffed and already effectively in custody at that point. He was placed in the rear of a city Waukesha police car where he was taken into custody for loitering as well as being a suspect at that point as the operator of the vehicle that went through the parade route.
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name for the record.
We got relevancy.
Your answer stands. Go ahead. Next question.
At the time that you made contact with this individual, did you have any information about the vehicle that had been used during the parade?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes, a red SUV. That was actually a red Ford Escape specifically.
And did you have any
My check
information
just
that car
rocks.
had been located at the time that you went to the Elizabeth Street address?
I think that's why he's going to
Yes,
go
it
on
already
for hours. He's the guy that
Do you
actually
have any information about that red SUV prior to going to Elizabeth Street?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
The information I recall having is that the vehicle was parked over on Maple Avenue, which is about 2.5 to 3 blocks west of Elizabeth Street, where Mr. Brooks was located and taken into custody.
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Did you have the opportunity to speak with an individual who was identified as Darrell Brooks at
Objection,
that
I don't
Elizabeth Street
consent to being
address?
called that name.
Go ahead. You may answer.
I don't believe I spoke with him at that address, but Mr. Brooks was transported to our substation.
a lot of it's
located on
going to be
West
interrogation
Parkway in
video.
Waukesha, where I had opportunity to speak with him.
I
Did you
think.
see him at the Elizabeth Street address?
Yes, I did.
Did you see him in the court today?
I do.
I'd ask the court to ask Mr. Brooks to remove his mask.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Can you identify him by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Brooks is seated to my left, wearing a dark-colored suit jacket, multicolored tie, surgical mask on his face, shaved head, and he did have a beard at the time he took his mask.
Kimberly, we
Let the
can
record
fix that.
reflect
Don't worry.
that the witness has identified the defendant.
It will reflect. Thank you.
Sir, as you see Mr. Brooks today, does he look different than he did on November 21st of last year?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
At the time of the incident, Mr. Brooks had longer hair, a braided style hair that probably went midway down his back.
How about facial wise?
He had a beard at that time, but it's a little bit shorter now. It was a little bit thicker and longer at the time.
Yet another rock solid witness.
So you stated
This guy is
that,
unshakable. I was going to say something if you did.
defendant was
This guy
transported
is
to a substation?
unshakable.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And he's doing this all
And
from memory,
coffee
folks.
transported.
Like, that's not necessarily he's
Specialist
impressed,
Mark
but
Howard.
Yep.
Did you follow
that's somebody who's
Specialist
testified
Howard to the
probably
substation?
150
Yes, I did.
times.
On either, should I say, at the scene, did you obtain items that were located on the defendant's person?
Yes, I did.
What did they consist of?
So the items I received that were on Mr. Brooks' person at the time of his arrest, there were several items. One of them was a Wisconsin photo identification card. So
I will
it
turn
had a
this car
picture
around.
on the ID card that I recognized as being Mr. Brooks based on the fact I was with him at this time. The name on that identification card was Darrell Edward Brooks Jr., his date of birth being February 21st, 1982. There was also a
Those are a lot of
green
facts
Wisconsin
that's
Plus
keeping
card
your
with
mind.
Mr. Brooks' name on it, a
And it's
silver
such a great presentation
American
when you have
Express
somebody
debit
who
or
can do
credit card with Mr. Brooks' name on it, 2 Visa debit cards, one black, one white, both which had Mr. Brooks' name on it. And then there was a Georgia EBT card which had the name of Mr. Brooks' girlfriend on it.
Other than the identifying information that you just testified to, is anything else turned over to you that was removed from Darrell Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name and it's leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am. There was $4 cash, but also a Ford ignition key.
Now, you stated that there was a suspect vehicle that had been located.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any information prior to your discussions with the defendant about
That's where we're
the
at,
owner of
people.
that vehicle?
That's where we're at.
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, I did.
And who was the owner of that vehicle?
A female by the name of Dawn Woods.
And do you recall what her address was?
Objection.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
4014 North 19th Street in the city of Milwaukee.
So 19th Street, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. Leading witness.
Overruled. The answer may stand.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 172. That's going to appear on the screen in front of you. Before we do that, these identifiers that you located for Darrell Brooks, did you take a picture of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name for the 100th time.
Overruled.
This is beyond White Claw.
And
at
let
this
me know
point.
when you see something in your.
I see it.
Okay. Do you recognize these items as those items you just described as having been removed from the defendant's person?
Yes, I do.
I'd ask the court to admit this exhibit into evidence and to publish it for the jury.
Objection. Relevancy.
Objection is overruled. Exhibit 172 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
Oh, so there's that, which is an
You
issue.
can specifically zoom in on the
Yeah,
Wisconsin
that's not helpful.
card.
Mike, can you check the
The address
private
on
shop
that
for one
is
second?
identification
I don't
card.
know what
Is
it
that
is.
the same address that you recited for Dawn Woods?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
I don't know what it's about.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Wait.
And what was the date that that card was issued?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
June 14th, 2021.
And the picture on the identification card, would that be consistent or inconsistent with what the defendant looked like on November 21st of last year?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
It's almost exactly what he looks like.
Now, as you were at the substation, what did you do that can be removed? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
For the most part, what we were doing down there is obtaining basic booking information. So I confirmed Mr. Brooks' first name, middle name, last name, date of birth. I obtained an emergency contact for him, phone numbers, whether he was working or not, going to school. Obtained information about his tattoos, piercings, things of that nature. Personal identification information.
Okay. And who did he say his emergency contact was?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Relevance.
Mr. Brooks indicated his emergency contact person was Dawn Woods.
And what relationship was Dawn Woods to him?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
You went.
It is Mr. Brooks' mother.
You went straight for.
And did you subsequently obtain a phone number for Dawn Woods?
I did.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
What is that phone number, if you recall?
Objection.
Yeah, no, because he never had an actual driver's license.
610-2153.
Or it was certainly suspended at some point.
Now, when you asked the defendant for his name, what did he tell you his name was?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
I believe he indicated it was Darrell, Darrell, which in speaking with him, and I can confirm seeing him today, Darrell Brooks or Darrell Brooks are one and the same. They are the same person.
Did you
But
become
are they
aware of any video evidence that was collected in the downtown area during the parade, capturing a picture of the person who drove the red SUV through the parade?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you said you saw that?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to ask that Exhibit 120, which has been previously admitted into evidence, be published for the jury.
Go ahead.
Is that the photographic evidence that you had just testified to?
Objection.
Overruled.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And do you recall approximately, was this the car being driven while the parade, in the midst of the parade, after the parade, or before the parade, if you know?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
So the photo we're looking at right here is right in the middle of the parade. So right now, the vehicle is within the parade route while the parade is ongoing.
And were you able to positively identify the driver of that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Hearsay.
Overruled.
Who is the driver of that vehicle?
The driver of the vehicle is Darrell Brooks.
Approximately how long?
You done with this exhibit?
I am, yes.
Thank you.
How long were you at the substation?
Probably about 2 to 2.5 hours.
Why were you there versus anywhere else?
So at this particular time, the department was in a transition. Our original building was under construction. The building we were primarily working out of did not have a booking room, did not have a place to take prisoners, so we had to go down to the substation instead of our own actual police department.
Other than collecting the information that you had previously told us about, including emergency contact information, name, things like that, what else were you doing at the substation?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Mainly at that time, just waiting for further information as to what was going to be done next. Like I say, the scene was very, very chaotic.
Agreed.
I know there were so many victims out there. They didn't even have enough ambulances to transport them all. So officers, it took, I feel like probably hours to really get it under control. So I was just waiting on more information from Detective Casey, who had been assigned as lead to determine what steps would be appropriate next. It's just being there with Mr. Brooks and making sure he was safe and remained in custody. I didn't have a real good idea due to the chaos of what was going on away from where I was.
Now, you had testified about some of the property that was recovered from the defendant, and you stated that one of the items was a card in the name of Erica Patterson. Do you recall that?
Objection. He did not say who was in the name of.
Sustained. Please rephrase.
Actually, if we can pull up Exhibit 172 again.
Objection, hearsay.
There's no question yet, but.
And if you can zoom in on the Georgia EBT card. Whose name is on that card?
Erica Patterson.
Overruled. Go ahead, you can answer that again.
Erica Patterson.
Did you, at the time that you were at the substation, have any information regarding an Erica Patterson and her relationship to Darrell Brooks?
Objection, that I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Objection is hearsay.
Overruled.
Not at that time, no.
You later learned of a relationship between the defendant and Erica Patterson?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes, I did.
And what was that relationship?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
Ms. Patterson was a significant other or girlfriend to Mr. Brooks and mother of one of his children.
Objection, not girlfriend.
Overruled. The jury will disregard that last.
All right, that's the best objection I've heard. Objection, not a girlfriend.
Now, when you made
Never heard that
contact
in
with
court, and I probably will never hear it again.
Darrell Brooks or while you're making contact with Darrell Brooks at the substation, did he complain of any injuries?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name. I
Overruled.
think the prosecution is trying to be funny at this point.
Yes, ma'am, he did. He
Hold on, I didn't hear the last thing, but I believe it was commentary.
Please take the timestamp on this because that is the most entertaining series of stupid objections I've heard.
Yes, ma'am, he did. He complained of 2 injuries, one to his knee, but primarily and mostly of an injury to what was his right shoulder.
Did he say how that occurred?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes, he did. Mr. Brooks told us that his shoulder was injured when he was arrested, indicating the arresting officers slammed him to the ground.
Did you have the opportunity at any point in this investigation to review body camera footage from Officer Rebecca Carpenter?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was at the residence where the defendant was taken into custody?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Did you see any
Yeah, because
unlawful
people
use of
that I don't
force
have a relationship
on
with
the
just give me their
defendant
EPP
during
card.
that time?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
No, ma'am. In fact, there was no force used at all. Mr. Brooks was given verbal directions by officers to get down onto the ground, and he did so entirely on his own power.
Based upon his complaints, however, was the decision made to transport him for medical clearance?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you transport the defendant?
Waukesha Memorial Hospital.
Do you know approximately what time you arrived there?
David, if you want to give me your EBT
I
card.
believe, I don't remember the exact
Yeah,
time. It was sometime, I
mail it to
believe
me.
it was between
That'll be
about 8 and 9 p.m.
Upon entering, who was with you and Mr. Brooks?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name, is leading the witness.
Overruled. That's the vote. You may answer.
Detective Ben Stern.
Was he partnering with you in this part of the investigation?
Yes, ma'am, he was.
Okay. And when you entered the hospital, what observations, if any, did you make?
Entering the hospital, we escorted Mr. Brooks, to a room so that he could receive medical clearance. I know there were some individuals from the parade that were injured in nearby rooms. I didn't really see many of them, but I knew they were close by. So we escorted Mr. Brooks into a room, trying to keep away from the victim so as to not make the incident any more tension-filled than it already was.
How busy was it at the hospital when you brought Mr. Brooks in?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Extremely. There were victims due to the mass amount of casualties, many of which, survived but still needed extensive medical attention.
God, I wish Christ
it was
that
very busy. Many of the victims
we
were
can get to
taken
cross
to alternate
tonight. I
hospitals
don't think it's
because
going to happen,
Memorial
but
could not handle the.
I don't want to wake up early
the amount of
tomorrow, but I
patients
gotta
that
watch
come
it, and I gotta put on if you're not going to.
Now, approximately how long did you spend with Mr. Brooks at Waukesha Memorial Hospital?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Probably about 4 hours.
Is that in addition to the time that you would have spent with him at the substation?
Yes, ma'am.
Leading.
Overruled.
What was his demeanor?
Extremely calm. I would describe it, I guess, to put it in context for the court, very similar to mine right now. The conversations I had with him, as far as getting his identification info and such, he talked to me as calmly as I'm speaking now. Based on his body language,
to get their audio together.
You'd have never known he had done something or was in custody for having done something so serious.
Did he ask you why he was in custody at the substation?
Yes.
And what did you tell him?
At that point, I simply told Mr. Brooks it was a loitering investigation and possible disorderly conduct.
Now, you just testified that he was a suspect in the parade mass casualty incident. Why didn't you tell him that?
At that time, I didn't want to make Mr. Brooks, one, overly anxious. Two, there was a lot of information. Initially, I still didn't know. It was initially, as part of the chaos, I believe at one point we were actually looking for as many as four people. So I didn't know how deeply he was or was not involved. It was believed that and known that he was somehow involved and knew something. So before I even addressed those issues, one, I wanted to make sure I knew all the facts and had as much information as I could, more than anything for the integrity of the case.
When you talk about the integrity of a case and your discussions with him, did the defendant appear to know what was going on around him? When I say that, I guess, was he aware of where he was, who you were, things like that?
Objection speculative.
As to the way it was rephrased in the second half of it, I will allow it. You may answer.
Yes, he did. He seemed, he was alert. When asked questions, like, for example, his phone number, his emergency contact, the answers were consistent with the question asked.
Oh, good Lord. I lost the stream. And I lost you. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm muted. I was trying to figure out the echo issue.
That's exactly what I tried to figure out.
So I was gonna go into the back studio and check the original feed to see if it was us.
I will get this.
All right. I mean, I know Uncivil's covering it, but I can also just pull the original if you want me to do the share.
No, I got it.
All right. I thought that it was their actual feed that was echoing.
Let me see here.
Thomas Willie, an EBT card is food stamps.
He was talking about being in severe pain, but
that's better.
The way he'd move his
it's
arm
still not great.
I
think it's the original feed.
And basic interpersonal interactions. His hands,
Sorry.
his arms, everything moved completely.
That was all the echo that brought us here. Sorry, y'all.
No favoring of that shoulder or anything to indicate other than what he was saying.
You really should find a real YouTuber.
That there was any type of injury there that I observed.
Now, at some point,
we have more fun.
During this time that you were with him and he was getting medically cleared, first of all, did he get medically cleared?
Yes, he did.
Objection speculative.
He didn't need to be.
Hold on. Overrule. His answer may stand.
Do you need any treatment while at the hospital?
That just covers it right there. Right
No,
in
he
a
was checked
nutshell.
out. The doctor came in and
Thank
looked at
you,
his
Karen.
shoulder. He did not believe any medication.
And that's the truth. I had one job.
I believe they took an X-ray to
And I
check it,
failed.
but he was ultimately cleared and turned over to police custody.
And during the time that you were with him while he was getting medically cleared, what type of conversation were you having? Was it a general conversation, or were you talking to him about the loitering?
Objection.
The echo seems to have is better now.
Overrule. You may answer.
The conversation was general. Mr. Brooks asked several times.
Oh,
if
good
I would
Lord. Is it
give him
still
more information
echoing?
as to why he was in custody?
No, it
and I would
actually, it
continue
seems to have
tell him it
improved.
was for the loitering violation. But the conversations were mostly, we talked about sports. The Green Bay Packers had played that day. We talked about the game. I remember him telling me that baseball was his favorite sport, and things of that nature. He was upset that the Packers had lost the game. So it was general conversation, not related to why he was specifically in custody.
At some point, did you decide that you were going to try to talk to the defendant about at least the loitering incident?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Overrule. The witness may answer.
Do you know approximately what time that took place?
11:04 p.m.
And so, folks, if you're
And how did you approach
talk casually
this
to
interview?
you,
You've now been with Mr. Brooks for
they're trying to gain
maybe
your
5
trust
hours, would that
to
be
nail the
fair?
fuck out of you later.
How did you decide to approach this interview with him?
Objection leading.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
I just explained to Mr. Brooks that I simply wanted to speak with him about why he was in the neighborhood where he was discovered that night, what was going on, what led to him being there, and that I was just looking to have answers to that if he was willing to provide them.
And was Mr. Brooks
Wilbert, why do you do that to me? Because
in
you're
the
right.
room that had the ability to record the conversation that you had with him?
Objection. I don't consent to being called on the line.
Overruled, you may answer.
No, not in the manner we would if we were at our typical police departments. Our police department would have a camera mounted in the corner that would record audio and video. They did have a security camera, but it had no audio capability.
So what did you do?
I utilized my department issued phone and recorded the audio of the interview that way.
So you had the audio on your phone and the visual, or there was a visual recording. Is that true?
Yes, so the audio was on my phone and then the visual recording was through the hospital security system.
So they didn't marry up with one another, correct? I mean, in terms of, I should strike that. You couldn't play the audio with the visual. They're two different recordings.
Yes.
Okay. Who else was with you during this interview?
At that time, Detective Ben Stern from my department was with me, as well as 2 federal agents from the FBI, Agent Mary Davidson and Agent Jeremy, I believe it's Pilichowski.
Why were they there?
So the FBI came involved in the investigation early on because we were not certain at that point whether or not this was a terrorist incident.
Oh, how can you even ask such a thing?
So how did it work? Were
I
they
invited
in the
her, but
room
she
and then
didn't show up.
Mr.
I
Brooks
don't
was
blame her.
brought into the room, or how did that work?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name and just leading the witness.
Overruled as to the name, sustained as to the form of the question.
Don't tell my secrets.
How did you
Shoot.
all get into the same room?
So I was in the room waiting for Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks was brought from another room by Detective Stern. At this point, the audio recording on my phone was already running. I believe the 2 FBI agents were with me in the room, and then, like I say, Mr. Brooks was escorted in by Detective Stern.
Did you introduce yourselves? Well, you had been with Mr. Brooks previously, correct?
Objection.
Yes, I had.
Overruled, you may answer.
Yes, I had.
Okay. Had he been introduced to Detective Stern already?
Yes, he had.
Okay. And how about the 2 FBI agents?
It was at that point that they introduced themselves to Mr. Brooks.
What was his reaction to that when they introduced themselves?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled, you may answer.
I'm very surprised. He said the word FBI, in the form of a question. I could tell his tone was very surprised. It wasn't as calm
Probably for
as
today.
he had been. He seemed concerned, uneasy, and within about a minute after stating that, he questioned the agents further as to whether they were really FBI agents, and he was surprised to see them there, and he had never actually seen an FBI agent before, so he was definitely surprised, and I could tell he was uncomfortable.
Did you record the entire conversation you had with the defendant?
Yes, at that point, all that is on recording. At that point, yes.
And have you had the opportunity to review that recording prior to today's date?
I have.
I would like to admit Exhibit 81 for the
Objection.
court. It is the audio interview of the defendant. That took place on November 21st, 2021. It's previously been addressed by this court.
Objection.
Remind me how long it is again.
Your Honor, the entire video is 25 minutes approximately. I'm asking to play from 4 minutes and 25 seconds to 14 minutes and 25 seconds approximately. Well, it would be 10 minutes.
I presume you'll have questions regarding that once you play it.
Correct.
It's gonna be a straight 10
Given
minutes.
that it's just before 5 o'clock, I'm going to stop for the day. We can pick up with this tomorrow.
So we're not getting him until the morning.
And I'll put down for the moment, and I will have our instruction for the jurors.
I love his little tip sheets from the defense attorney.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do not begin your deliberations and discussion of this
No, they
case
called it for the day.
until all the evidence is presented and I have instructed you on the law.
But he's guilty.
Do not discuss this
Yeah,
case
everybody
among
knows that.
yourselves or with anyone else until your final deliberations, in the jury room. This order is not limited to face-to-face conversations. It also extends to all forms of electronic communications. Do not use any electronic devices such as a mobile phone or computer, text or instant messaging or social networking sites to send or receive
Except
any
Law Talk with
information
Mike. That's
about
allowed.
this case or your experience as a juror. If you come in contact with the
Don't say that.
parties, lawyers, interpreters, or witnesses, do not speak with them. For their part, the parties, lawyers, interpreters, and witnesses will not contact or speak with the jurors. Do not listen to any conversation about this case. Do not research any information that you personally think might be helpful to you in understanding the issues presented. Do not investigate this case on your own or visit the scene either in person or by any electronic means. Do not read any newspaper reports or listen to any news reports on radio, television, over the internet,
That's federal
or
law
any
right there.
other electronic application or tool about this trial.
Should be.
Do not consult dictionaries, computers, electronic applications, social media, the internet, or other reference materials for additional information. Do not seek
No,
information.
Griggs, yeah, I'm
regarding
pretty
the public
sure
record of
Black
any
Law's
party
dictionary
or
finds
witness
Law
in
Talk
this
with
case.
Mike as above
Any
the law.
information you obtain outside the courtroom could be misleading, inaccurate, or incomplete.
I
Relying
don't
on
know.
this information is
Maybe.
unfair because the
I haven't
parties
made that
would not
determination
have
yet,
the
to be honest.
opportunity to refute, explain, or correct it.
Do you have
Do not
a
communicate
business
with
to do?
anyone
Because
about this
I'll run
trial
it.
or your experience as a
I don't know.
juror
I got a
while
text
you
you
are
sending
serving
after
on
this is over.
jury. Do not
All right.
use a computer, cell phone, or other electronic device, including personal
God bless
wearable
her.
electronics, applications, or
I'll be like,
tools with
I
communication
want to see the cross on
capabilities
this guy.
to
I know
share
it's going to
any
be
information
hours
about
in,
this
but
case.
still,
For
I want to see the
example,
cross
do
on
not
this guy.
communicate by telephone, blog post, email, text message, instant message,
Because
social
I know it's going to be an
networks, or
absolute
in any other
disaster,
way
and I'm looking
on or
forward to the
off
train
the
wreck.
computer. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you about this matter.
So
Yeah, it's going nowhere.
Yeah, I might skip some of the rest of the direct because
I literally don't know. Like, I would do it because now I'm kind of invested in this deal.
Yeah.
But and I probably will, but I don't know what I've got up in the morning.
Well, it's your time zone, not mine. So
I mean,
yeah, I can still sleep.
It is my time zone.
Yeah, thanks,
I like
Ken.
this. I like this.
But no, like, if you've got business to do, it's a Tuesday morning. That's generally pretty busy at a law firm. I don't know. But if you don't have anything,
it's me, you know.
I know it's you.
Here's
I'm
what I
just
do.
saying
I blow off anything that's not like a burning fire that will crush me in the next 12 hours. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, well, my experience at larger law firms is everything is a burning fire that you need to put out constantly.
Well,
so either way, if you want to run it, I am happy.
At my firm, Yesenia decides what the burning fire is, and I've granted her that responsibility because she's earned it. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty important. We need to look at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what you've done. Well, I know some of what you've done previously, but my experience, when you have a 140 case list, everything's a burning fire.
Yeah.
Because, well, at least when it comes to insurance companies, they want reports on a remarkably regular basis. So whatever, let's do it.
Yeah, that's what you're dealing with. All right, I will take a look at it. I will let y'all know. You'll know because if I'm doing it, I'll post something.
Yeah,
I'll put it in Discord or something like that.
And if you choose not to, as I said, I'm gonna skip most of the direct, and I'm gonna probably get there for the cross because I think that's more interesting. But either way,
I didn't want to. You know what? I did skip most of the testimony. I'm like just because I know what it is. I didn't want to see 27 hours of the families of the victims talking about it.
Right.
Not.
No, you're absolutely right about that.
Are they entitled to? But no, do I want to put myself and my viewers through that? No. So I didn't. This is more interesting where we like get to the substance of the matter, which is earlier and later.
Yeah, I agree 100% entirely. And
actually, the rest of it's interesting, but I just didn't want to be in that emotional place. I'll be that honest.
No, it's not fun, and you have a fantastic reputation for making law kind of fun.
Well, thank you.
No, seriously, like that's kind of your niche. And
I did one yesterday. I lost my mind because we had this bond. I already said this, but we had this bond court hearing, and it was like totally impromptu. It was like Saturday or Sunday. I don't even remember. I got Kurt on. Kurt starts singing Cher in the middle of it while I go to get coffee. But it's like a dumb bond call. I'm like, look, if it's for real, we'll do it. Like we're watching a bond call. We're waiting for something good to happen. If it does, we'll shut up. But if not, it's just like a routine bond call. We're going to have fun. We're going to laugh over it. We're going to talk over it. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. And that's a great thing to do. It's actually genuinely entertaining. I watch all of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was nice. And you know, he couldn't hang out much. He and that's what it is. But it's cool that Ben came on too. Thank you, Ben.
I'm not familiar with Ben. Can you?
Ben was the attorney for Kim Blandino out in Nevada. Oh, okay. That was a big case, and he was his attorney. Oh,
I saw the Blandino case, and he's the one. He fired Ben, right?
Well, he tried to, but the judge wouldn't. Judge Levitt wouldn't let him out because she likes Ben, which I get too. But she likes Ben because he's rational.
Well, you know, an attorney.
He's got a brain, and she's like, "Oh no, we're not going to trial without Ben. Sorry."
Oh God, that's awesome.
Or somebody else who has a clue.
Yeah, I just wasn't familiar with who he was, so that's actually really cool. So now I have a frame of reference.
Yeah, you guys get to me, but yeah, we didn't get to like hang out because we didn't have this moment. That's another thing that 99% of my audience does understand, but some people don't. It's really hard in terms of sound, in terms of pausing. I don't want to pause this because it's live. We are streaming something live. So yes, I have a hard time hearing John. Not all the time, but sometimes. Yes, the sound mix probably isn't perfect. But I'm sacrificing all that for being up to the moment on a live event.
That's the nature of a live conversation. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, how many times do you see, just even in sports, where the camera operator flips to the wrong one every now and again? Like, it happens. It's okay.
So yeah, today
everyone's
was really
giving me shit
interesting
about my lighting.
Although, and then everyone's like, oh, because it's echoing, which sucks, and I wanted to kill it. So then I did. So of course I just hit the wrong tab and killed it. And I'm like, all right, we don't have a stream. We'll get back on. We did. But that's what happens when you're live streaming. People don't, and they don't need to know. But like a lot of what I do is like, oh, I'll grab a clip and I have it pre-recorded, and then I edit it down a little bit. There's a bunch of effort that went into it before I go on.
Right.
And you don't know, but like that's a whole different thing because I can pause that. It's not live. It happened 4 hours ago. I can pause that. I've seen bits of it, so I know what points I can pause it. I don't have that when I'm going live.
Yeah, but to some extent at the same time, that's one of the nice things about doing the live trials is you don't really have to. I mean, sometimes you have to fill the dead air. I thought we did a halfway decent job during the 15-minute break.
Oh hell yes, you got cut off. You were given the whole retribution and rehabilitation and which we've been through. And I know
a story for another time, but
you know it's funny because I saw some of the same comments. I get them all the time, and that's okay. That's okay. A lot of people are like, well, why would you do that? You know, that doesn't help the defendant. I'm like, you know what? That's just one of the theories. Helping the defendant is a nice thing to do, and we're all for it. But that's just one of the things. How about helping society?
Precisely. And that's so, for instance, in terms of like helping society, I don't know how much time you have, but I can finish the lecture.
Well, no.
And I'm not going to.
No, this isn't your channel. This is my channel. Your channel is where someone will actually learn something. We can't have people learning things on here.
God forbid.
No, it shan't happen.
But no, in terms of like the helping society, one of the aspects of incarceration is incapacitance. If you have somebody that is a threat to society, they should be removed from it so that they're no longer a threat.
And it's legitimate as the day is long.
Huh?
It's legitimate as the day is long. It's every bit as legitimate as rehabilitation.
Exactly. And it's what every prosecutor will argue every time of the day. Is this person, if let out on bonds, a threat to society? And I kind of wanted to go through that because it's interesting because a lot of your stuff is bond court. And what is the calculus going through the judge's minds?
Right.
In terms of how to apply bonds.
I know. I can see the wheels in your mind turning because people do this. And it's always just a segment of the pipe. So if somebody's like all cranky because they felt like they were wronged by a judge and them or a family member spent too much time in jail, that's what they're focused on. The only message I want to give to people is all of this has occurred to us. We've all gone to law school. We've all been drugged through this. There are theories on what's the most appropriate thing, and that doesn't make us right. But what I want to tell the world generally is, it's occurred to us. This is like if someone has an alcohol problem, for instance, just punishing the hell out of them is not going to help them specifically, but it may help society.
Yes,
and we have been trained in all of those concepts, and that doesn't mean we all come to the same conclusions even.
Well, and
it's not like it's never occurred to us that curing somebody of alcoholism is a preferential result to just putting them in jail for life. I think we'd all agree with that. However, society does have an interest in just pulling a danger out of it too.
Well, I mean, alcoholism, I think, is an internal issue. It's activities that occur as a result of that vice, their behavior combined with a suggestion that they're not able to abstain.
Right.
If we let them back out, they're going to engage in the same behavior again.
Meth, heroin, all the same thing.
I think alcohol's not the best example. I think, harder drugs like meth, which we've seen a ton of times on your channel, you can rehabilitate them to a certain point, but when you become a repeat offender because of a substance issue, at some point society needs to decide you're just not capable of refraining, and so we can rehabilitate you all we would like, but
society is
still
thinking
hurting people.
Society's thinking we'd love to rehabilitate you, but we'd also like the body count to be low before you figure it out.
Right.
And like low to the point of, say, 0. If we can pull that off.
That would be the ultimate preference.
Right.
But yeah, so like it goes to it's I didn't actually give the full for it. Retribution, incapacitation, rehabilitation, and deterrence. Deterrence is probably the weakest one because I don't think that criminals actually give a shit about being in jail.
Not at the margins, but we are to a point where deterrence has become relevant again. When we've gone into just not enforcing the law,
it's become very relevant.
Deterrence, it's mayhem. It's shit.
If you issue deterrence, like what say they did with the bail reform in New York, if you totally get rid of the deterrence arguments, then we really got a problem. If the whole idea is that you can get arrested 3 times in a day and be out the same day, that's
deterrence at the margins. Like back in the day when it used to be, it's like, okay, you know, if I'm going to put you in jail for 40 years instead of 30 years, criminals aren't rational enough to make that call.
But they are.
I'm never going to put you in jail no matter what the hell you do versus you might face jail. There's a great deterrence argument between those two situations.
And that's sort of the theory, is that each of those 4 theories, none of them is perfect. And each of them is going to affect an individual differently. Some people are more afraid of retribution.
Oh, for
some
the love
people
of God.
are more attuned to deterrence. Some people are more attuned to
John, you're not allowed on my channel anymore.
Why? Because
intellectual discussions break out despite my alcohol consumption, and I'm still. Are you serious? I'm going to lose my reputation.
Of what? Not being an educational channel?
Absolutely, yes. Oh God, did I chew someone's ass in the comments? So I don't think this last. It was Kurt having club share in the middle of my bond hearing, which was fabulous, by the way. He's like, I don't think I come here for the legal analysis. I said, dude, you're on the wrong channel. There's zero legal analysis on my channel. None. If you're expecting that, there's like literally hundreds of good channels for legal analysis. This ain't one of them. Go enjoy.
Fair enough. I do not intend to destroy your brand.
You asshole. Seriously. Trying to bring that sort of discussion into my good time. It's disgusting. It's despicable, really.
God forbid we ever do that.
Oh my Lord. That's another thing. My damn chat. They're making me laugh during this. And I think most people get it. I'm not laughing. I have nothing but respect for the horrible tragedy, the victims, and everything like that.
Yes.
But when you're making sandwich jokes and he's making horrible objections, that's funny. The tragedy's not funny. It's not funny at all.
And it is fair to say that we should not ignore that this was an absolute tragedy and a heinous act of evil. But sometimes a little bit of comedy is a way of healing, or
but I'm not even trying for comedy. I'm a comedy victim. I'm trying to be serious. I'm like literally like, okay, I'm gonna be stern. I did calculate. I showed you guys when I did. I started, but like prior to that, 2 hours, 3 hours, I'm just going, all right, here's what I think. But then he just says stuff that's so freaking stupid, I can't not laugh at it.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing because we're laughing at the criminal.
Yes.
That is a good thing. We should ridicule the criminal. He is basically going through the equivalent of the medieval stocks, where you get there and you put your head in your hands and people throw tomatoes at you.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. That is a little bit of justice.
And in that circumstance, it's appropriate. It really is. And I know that's what you're saying, but yes.
Yeah.
Wait, you know what else we're doing?
What else are we doing?
Oh, you don't want to know. This is what we're doing.
I'm going to use Miss Fowler's words. She now is in a throuple. And not only does she choose to be in a throuple, and she's shacked up in the bed with the throuple. Now, if anybody thinks this is okay, I am in the wrong world.
God damn it, Mike.
This is what my chat baits me into. I'm a victim. I'm really a very intellectual, sweet, nice guy.
You're a victim of your own success.
And I've got this naughty chat, and I don't know where they came from. I don't know what influence caused this, and they make me do these things.
Yeah, and then you sent them all to me.
Can you imagine, Jen? I mean, you're just starting your YouTube journey. Watch out. Your chat might do these sorts of things to you.
That's okay.
You might be a chat victim too. Yeah. John, I think you may be the next chat victim.
I very well might be. I have to figure out what my next topic is. And if you're not covering this trial tomorrow morning, I swear to God, I'm going live.
All right. Well, one way or the other, you guys are getting live tomorrow. How's that? And it's going to rock. All right. I will let you know. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ben, who's not here anymore, but awesome. It was awesome to see. Oh, wait. Who's here? Wait a second. Oh, no. All right. I thought we had a new one. All right. Thank you, everybody.
I had the fear of God put in me by that moment.
Tomorrow, one way or the other. I mean, this was funny too. I was on Legal Vices this morning, and they started drinking, and I'm like, okay. I'm like sober as a deacon, and I'm like doing all this stuff. I'm like working my cases, and I'm like, okay. They start drinking, which I'm like not knocking, but I'm like, okay. I actually want to watch the second half of the trial.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like doing shots. So again, I'm not judging. I'm just like, all right, no, I actually want to watch this trial for the afternoon. And then he's like, can I send you my stream and everything from over there? This LawTube's cool. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. Like that's what people don't get. And
someone get all cranky. It's like, oh, you started a separate stream. I'm like, yeah, I had a different vibe going. I mean, I wasn't like knocking him. And he's like, hey, can I throw my audience too?
I would take that in a heartbeat. What?
Yeah. There's no death penalty, but I get your point. All right. Thank you all for coming out. Good night. I will see you all soon. Thank you, John. And one of the two of us will be streaming on this thing tomorrow.
All right.
If not both. All right, cool.
All right. Have a good night. I'll talk to you later, Mike.